President. Sorry?
I haven't practiced with this. I hope it works. Thank you very much. Everybody sit. Can I formally open this meeting today? This County Council meeting. I do not intend to wait until announcements later on the agenda to update councils on the Chamber's microphones. As was the case at the last council meeting, members will note that we are a fully managed system on site for today's meeting. Microphones are positioned broadly as existing, and the meeting is being live streamed. Members need to use the new mic that are positioned in front of the original ones. And with luck, everybody should hear what's going on. You want it closer to me? Right, there we are. Okay, thank you. Worth the practice. Can I start with item 1 on the agenda, which is apologies for absence? I have received apologies from councillors Berry, Chubb, Dewhurst, Hall, Hartnell, Henderson, Peart, Squires, Gribble, and Channon. And Councillor Price has announced he will be running a bit late because he's at another function at the moment. Do I have any other apologies? No. Item 2 then, declarations of interest. Members of the council are reminded to declare any interest they may have prior to any discussion taking place on that item. Item 3 is minutes. Is it the council's wish that I sign the minutes of the meeting held on the 23rd of May, 2024 as a correct record? Thank you. Chairman's announcements. Firstly, I would like to congratulate our two parks, the Grand Western Canal Country Park and Stover Country Park, who have once again been recognised as being amongst the best in the UK after they have both received their Green Flag Awards. The award is an internationally recognised quality mark for parks and green spaces. The council managed both parks, and this year marks the 21st consecutive year for Stover Country Park, have received the award, and the Grand Western Canal Park is 16 years. Can I remind councillors, members, if they wish to speak, they must catch my eye, even though they may have given notice to speak. Contributions should be added to the debate and not repeated what has been said already. Members are asked to turn off the sound functions on their laptops and mobiles during the council meeting. The pings and notification noises can be quite distracting. An additional background noise makes listening difficult. And please use the microphone to your left. That ensures you use the right one. And remind the public that officers and members use laptops and tablets to access papers for this meeting. I've got another announcement I wish to make. And that is to congratulate two of our councillors who have become members of Parliament. It'd be remiss of me not to congratulate them on their success. And I wish them well in London. I will simply say that as councillors, I always maintain we're the most efficient part of local government, or government actually, not local government. And now go to item 5, important announcements from the leader and cabinet members. In line with the cabinet procedure rules, the council can receive any important updates or announcements from the leader and or cabinet members that cannot reasonably wait. However, I am not aware of any updates needed to be issued today. So let's move on. And I'll get to item 6. Items requiring urgent attention. There are no items under this heading. Item 7, petitions, questions, or representations from the general public. Before we start the public session, I would also like to remind those attending and speaking today that comments, questions, and representations should be factual. Statements should not include any personal comments or details of other individuals, including names. It also goes without saying that statements should not contain any offensive language or vexatious comment. If inappropriate comments are made, I will ask the speaker to stop. Can I also remind the council and those attending the total time permitted for this agenda item is 30 minutes. I will first deal with petitions for presentation to the council. I understand there is a petition from Judith Taylor containing approximately 1,000 signatures asking to keep Tipton St. John School in Tipton. Mrs. Taylor, please bring your petition forward to present to the Leader of the Council. And I invite you then to say a few words as well. So please come forward. Does the county councillor wants, right. Okay. Right. Okay. Mrs. Taylor, do you want to speak? There we are.
Sorry, I'm a little steamed up.
Could you hold the microphone for the lady? It'll be easier for her.
Okay, thank you. We are presenting a petition that has gained more than 900 signatures of support to keep Tipton St John School in the Tipton village. We also have an active campaign group within the village and school community with over 70 supporters. There is a strong support from the village and the community to retain Tipton St John's School, which has existed for over 180 years as a vital resource for our area. It is a popular school and local parents choose to send their children due to it being a small rural school. The school has a good reputation, but our research shows it is the quality of its rural location that is the key driver for most parents. It is important that small rural schools are supported as they provide many benefits to their pupils over and above their academic value. Within Tipton, there are multiple sites available, and these really need to be more fairly reviewed. Our campaign group has extensively reviewed the published documents, and we do not feel the Tipton sites have been reviewed fairly and without bias to date. Historically, there have been ongoing discussions about moving the school to the nearby town of Ottery St Mary for many decades, and we feel this has clouded the assessment of potential sites within Tipton. The majority of pupils come from Tipton St John and the surrounding hamlets collectively, so moving the school to Ottery is likely to increase the amount of travel required by the majority of the pupils, and it is not seen to be a favourable solution to parents at the school. The school requires a commitment of funding from Devon County Council as the rebuild fund that it has been awarded only covers the actual rebuild costs. An investment will be required in supporting infrastructure wherever the school is built, and to keep it within the village, investment is in one of the sites will be required. It is imperative that we now find a solution, as this has been going on for decades with no decision ever being made, and the school buildings are no longer fit for purpose, which negatively impacts the current school community. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. The second petition, which I have received notice of, is from Councillor Tobias Robshaw from Totnes Town Council on behalf of the Totnes Solidarity for Palestine, containing approximately 1,200 signatures in support of a motion on pensions divestment submitted by Councillor Hodgson, which is will be on the agenda much later on. Can I ask, would you like to come forward, or would you like to speak on this?
Yeah. Yeah. Stand here. Okay. I got it. Oh, yeah. Thank you very much. I come here in a private capacity as a member of Totnes Friends of Palestine, but I'm also a Totnes Town Councillor. Everyone on the Town Council has signed a petition with unanimous support. I hand the petition in in the context of the International Criminal Court and International Court of Justice rulings pertaining to Israel this year on the illegality of the Israeli actions in the occupied Palestinian territories, and calls upon them to take the steps to prevent genocide taking place. In the context also of the widening Israeli military actions into the West Bank that is happening this week, and in the context of the potential for sparking of an entirely avoidable wider regional conflict. When Israeli government ministers felt comfortable to openly and calmly call for the total annihilation of Gaza on the television, we crossed the reddest of red lines. They aren't hiding their ambitions. I'd like to make a point about ethical investment. Just as with companies engaging in environmentally destructive practices, whether intended or not, whether through complacency or corruption, the companies that profit from that sort of activity are rightfully divested from by bodies such as Devon County Council. And so from the companies that profit or enable the direct destruction of human beings, whether intentional or not, should always be considered unethical. There should be no public money in the arms trade at all, especially when these arms go to countries potentially committing war crimes. The use of collective punishment of a whole people as a strategy of war is beyond unacceptable. Withdrawal from Russian investments over the invasion of Ukraine was no different in these regards, so it should not be different for Israel. By divesting from the Israel arms trade, Devon County would add to the momentum around this country. Other councils I have on my list: Slough, East Sussex, Lothian Council, and I've just heard that Waltham Forest have also taken steps to divest from the Israeli arms trade. Devon should join them and others that will follow, and also add to the momentum around the world, calling for a ceasefire through similar campaigns. This in turn, as well as creating the momentum and the context for more people to take steps to see that this is what's happening right now, today. This is supporting the Israelis that want ceasefire. Right now, hundreds of thousands of protesters are on the streets across towns and cities in Israel demanding a ceasefire deal with Hamas. The families of the hostages are across the media today in that country and the United States and Europe, calling for as much support and pressure on the Israeli government to do this immediately. In what moral universe are we living in if we don't take opportunities such as this to withdraw material support to the continuation of this situation? And on what moral basis are we therefore able to cast any judgment on any nation or any movement? If the call for ceasefire is not backed, if the continuation of the situation goes unchallenged, and this council continues to politically and financially support it with public funds, I suggest we would all be morally bankrupt. Ceasefire now. Divest from supporting weapons sales to Israel now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. There is no debate on either of these petitions, but the cabinet member responsible for each will be responding directly to the motions that have been brought forward. There are 5 written questions from members of the public and 2 representations. I would ask people to ensure any supplementary questions are succinct. A copy of the questions and answers have been circulated, published on the website and circulated around the chamber. Can I first ask Will and Yvette to use the handheld microphones so that the questioners can ask any supplementary questions? First question is from Kathy Mudge, and Councillor Ledbetter has given you a written response. I do have a supplementary question. Yes. Right.
Thank you. Right, Kathy Mudge, I'm come to speak to you again about the question that I asked you about safeguarding. You say you've taken relevant action, but the guidance is still on the website. You're still quoting charities that have actually withdrawn from supporting LGBTQ children under 18. The council is expected to work together with schools to ensure safeguarding well before any referral to the NHS. Is this council taking this responsibility seriously, and where is the evidence to support that? Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Ledbetter.
Thank you for the question. Thank you for the follow-up question. We take it very seriously and I'll arrange for a written answer to provide the evidence.
Thank you very much, Councillor Ledbetter. Question 2 is from Mr. Endicott, also for Councillor Ledbetter.
Hello there. You were rather dismissive of my question, and you couldn't really see that there was a problem. I saw this morning before I came in that the Proud to Be website has changed the age range for its clubs recently, whereas it was 13 to 25. It still has a club that is 9 to 17. Now, 17-year-olds should not be hanging around with 9-year-olds. This is still a safeguarding issue. Also, the website says being LGBTQIA in itself is not a safeguarding issue. I say this as a gay man, it very definitely is a safeguarding issue, and is contrary to Keeping Children Safe in Education 2024. This is just one of many examples that have been highlighted to you by myself and Kathy before now, and I would like to know what you're going to do about it. In recent weeks, both Surrey Pride and LGBT Youth Scotland has had problems with paedophiles. This is a nationwide problem, and safeguarding is crucial, and I'm really not sure that the council is paying enough attention. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Councillor Ledbetter.
Thank you for the question, and thank you for the subsequent question. As I've already said, we take this extremely seriously. We will have another look at this issue and come back to the question.
Okay. Thank you very much. Question 3 is from Dr. Philip Slay. And you had a written reply from Councillor Davis. Now, do you have a supplementary question?
I do, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Dr. Philip Slee. Thank you, Councillor Davis, for your reply. You've outlined a number of efforts which sound worthy, but they're generally not that directly related to my question, which was about reducing meat and dairy as recommended, and about supporting transition to plant-based food production. The climate crisis is escalating. It's absolutely terrifying, and it's only going to get worse and worse. What more can Devon County Council do to address these issues of reducing the amount of meat and dairy consumed within the council, within the county, and of supporting farmers to transition to plant-based food? Thank you.
Councillor Davis.
Well, thank you very much for coming along, and the lady after you to ask these very important questions. I will continue to support everybody in any efforts they wish to make to reduce their impact on the planet, which is important for our children, grandchildren and great-grandchildren that hopefully at some point will come along. I am not a vegan myself, and neither am I vegetarian, and I'd like to take this opportunity of saying that I very much support all our farmers, and particularly in the area I live, Chairman, which is in North Devon, where the pastoral landscape is very precious to me, and I will be continuing myself to exercise my right to be a meat consumer. However, this council will take every effort to carry on supporting the farmers throughout the county.
Thank you. I now have a question from Catherine Sly. Do you have a supplementary?
You can hold it. Oh, Yes, thank you, Councillor Davis, for your reply, and I acknowledge the good things that are in place. However, it's not about just being vegan or otherwise. It's about taking what climate scientists are saying seriously. And they are saying that the most effective thing that we can do as an individual or collectively is to change what is on our plates. And if we can make steps towards that, that would be brilliant. So I'm asking if the council, what can you all do to produce a proactive, coherent campaign that will educate and support people to do just that, to make those steps, whilst ensuring that there are abundant choices of plant-based foods throughout Devon? Thank you.
Thank you so much for the question, Chairman. I think we're very fortunate to live in an area with so much variety in our agriculture. I will disagree with the lady. The one thing we can all do is reduce the amount of travelling that we do, and that is backed up by science. And in Devon, being such a large county, that is one thing that we can all actually make quite a big difference with. I fully support people's right to choose what they eat. I have nothing else to say.
Thank you. Question 5 is from Marion Lunt about floating bus stops. Marion Lunt.
Yes, Councillor Hughes, you sent a question back, but in the consultation in 22-23, in the plans that the RNIB and Living Options were involved, there was nothing about floating bus stops, and we were absolutely gobsmacked when they came in. So the question is, since the consultation, the RNIB have brought out a new policy and does not support floating bus stops, and our accessibility is not great. Thank you.
Councillor Hughes.
Yeah, thanks for that, Chairman. And for Mrs. Lunt, officers actually met with the local RNIB representatives on Rifford Road scheme. They supported the segregated space, the bright colour for the cycle route, which also followed feedback for improving the contrast between pedestrian space and cycling space, and the trapezoidal curbs, which aids detection of segregated paths. And according to the local RNIB rep, while floating bus stops present a challenge for visually impaired people who need to cross the cycle route, they were designed following the latest guidelines and was in preference to the alternative shared space option with bus stops. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Hughes. Now I have a representation from Mr. Clinch on behalf of the North Devon Palestine Solidarity Campaign. Wish to speak about the disinvestment from arms companies in the county's local government pension scheme. Now, Mr. Clinch, I believe you are here. You have 3 minutes, sir.
I'm speaking as Secretary of North Devon Palestine Solidarity Campaign branch, and as part of the campaign with Totnes Friends of Palestine and Exeter Palestine Solidarity Campaign, because of our deep concern about the investment through the Devon local government pension scheme in companies that are complicit in Israel's grave breaches of international law and Palestinian human rights through its illegal occupation of Palestine. This morning, the Gaza Health Ministry has reported at least 40,861 Palestinians have been killed since last October. At least 94,398 Palestinians have been injured, including many injuries that are life-changing and that will lead to premature death. At least 16,479 children have been killed during the Israeli genocide on Gaza. The Palestine Solidarity Campaign Director Ben Jamal said, quote, "It is a national scandal that the wages of local government workers are being invested in companies enabling these catastrophic attacks. Israel's carpet bombing and ground invasion of the besieged Gaza Strip has caused unimaginable suffering and devastation, unquote. We are imploring councillors on the Pensions Committee and all Devon County councillors to agree to begin the process of disinvestment by the Devon County Council local government pension scheme from the named arms companies into Councillor Jackie Hodgson's motion. Yesterday, I heard a fighter aircraft repeatedly overflying where we live in Torrington. The ear-shattering sound caused considerable anxiety. I wondered what a person like me in Gaza might have felt on hearing the sound of fighter jets on the 29th of May, jettisoning their payload on the tented area of Al-Mawazi near Rafah for so-called displaced refugees in a supposedly safe area. Fragmentary evidence from the bombs showed that GPU-39 bombs made by Boeing, by the way, with a £1,837 investment via the Devon local pension scheme, were used. Lastly, we have friends in both Deir al-Balah and Al-Mawazi. One friend had her baby, Salma, in April. They survived the birth because, unfortunately, she didn't require extra medical help. Only 3 of the 36 hospitals in Gaza are partially functioning. The others have been smashed in bombings. Another young journalist friend who is displaced in the Al-Mawazi refugee camp. Their heart-rending messages have described their plight, but they overcome their fear in order to survive. They are living in a hell, along with 2.3 million other Palestinians in Gaza, which has been created by the use of weapons, including those provided by companies in the Devon local government pension scheme to the State of Israel. They are watching this live cast, by the way. Please act to end this complicity. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Clinch. Everybody's heard what you've said. There will be a motion later in the day, but it'd be wrong of me to preempt what is said on that motion. I believe it's likely to go to the Cabinet and not be discussed today. But that will be somewhat later in the day when we get to that part of the agenda. Thank you. I know you're very good at keeping me in order. Can I thank all presenters for their comments, acknowledging the... Oh, sorry, I've left one out. We have a representation from Emily McGeever, who wishes to highlight recent findings concerning the ineffectiveness of culling badgers as a means of controlling bovine TB. So I'm sorry about that, Emily.
That's fine.
Listen to you.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, councillors. Among other important issues, badger culling is in the news, not least because this year's cull is about to begin in the Devon countryside and elsewhere, and a very famous musician, Dr. Sir Brian May, no less, has made a TV documentary highlighting flaws in the last Tory government's bovine TB policy. Not to be outdone, the new Labour government has announced badger culling will be phased out by 2029. The Labour Party manifesto referred to the cull as ineffective, but the phase-out policy allows culling under existing licences to continue, thus perpetuating a policy that is demonstrably failing, could, according to the Zoological Society of London, increase spread of the disease, and, in any case, diverts attention from the main cause of the spread, cattle-to-cattle transmission. Wildlife groups are united in condemnation of the cull, and even traditionally conservative organisations are calling for revocation of existing licences. RSPCA Chief Executive Chris Sherwood has stated that 230,000 badgers have been pointlessly killed in the cull since 2013, despite government data which found no evidence that culling badgers has had an effect on eliminating tuberculosis in cattle. Fortunately, all sides agree BTB eradication is necessary and must rely on sound science. With that in mind, I want to draw your attention to a study recently published in Nature Scientific Reports. The study reanalysed data from the randomised badger culling trial, upon which current policy is based, and concluded that when using more suitable statistical methods, there was no evidence to support any effect of badger culling on transmission of bovine TB in cattle. Addressing obvious flaws in the current policy is essential. The skin test used to identify infected cattle is inadequate due to its poor predictivity. Unidentified carriers can remain in the herd even when other infected cattle are slaughtered. The cattle vaccination works, but renders vaccinated cattle indistinguishable from infected cattle, hence is not seen yet as a solution. Disease can be passed between cattle due to close proximity of infected cattle, feces, food and water, as well as cattle movement. The government is right to say that badger culling must end, but failure to revoke the existing culling licences is profoundly wrong. Badgers have suffered too much and for too long, and the transition to a science-based bovine TB eradication strategy is badly needed. May I urge the Council to monitor all relevant scientific findings, support council tenant farmers wishing to avoid culling badgers, prevent culling on council-owned land as far as possible, and call on the government to accelerate work to address problems associated with cattle testing and vaccination. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Emily. I come back to what I was going to say now. Thank all the presenters for their comments. We acknowledge the representations made and will have been heard by all members of council and will be taken into account at any relevant debates. Now I will move to the next item, which is item 8, petitions from councillors. Does any member of council have a petition? I have got no indication that somebody has. No, right. Item 9 is question from members of council. There are 5 questions from members of council, and questions and answers have been emailed out and published on the web with some hard copies available in the chamber. Supplementary questions should be brief with no statements, please. Question 1 is from Councillor Bailey, and Councillor Sewell has given a written answer. Councillor Bailey, do you have a supplementary?
No, I don't. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Question 2 is from Councillor Hodgson to Councillor Hughes, has given a written reply. Does Councillor Hodgson have a supplementary question?
I do. Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Hughes, for your reply. But it still remains. How does a wheelchair user safely navigate a footpath rendered too narrow for a wheelchair to avoid getting wheels caught in foliage? There are quite a few that meet this in my division. I do not believe that we are properly implementing our diversity and inclusivity obligations when putting many pedestrians, disabled and otherwise, at risk. Able-bodied people step right into the road of oncoming traffic. Please, can we just check that, not just check the more overgrown verges, but trim them too at the same time? We spend a lot of time going out to check. Let's just send somebody out with the shears and just get it done. It's ridiculous and it's really unsafe. And I'm facing a lot of complaints. I know we have online reporting, but I really think that we are not doing what we could. And I ask you to reconsider that we make sure we do it properly.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for that. Thanks, Chairman. And thanks, Councillor Hodgson, for a supplementary. I wonder if it would be possible, because in your original question, you didn't actually provide me with any locations of the overgrown hedges and the areas that need trimming. And the landowners, of course, joining the highway land, are responsible for any work that is carried out. If I had that information, I can have a look at it for you. So if you can provide me with that at some stage, thank you.
I can give you a quick answer on that right in front of Totnes.
Sorry, Councillor. Thank you. Councillor 3, question 3 is Councillor Bailey To Councillor Twist. Do you have a supplementary on this one?
Yes, I do. I'd like to thank Councillor Twist for his answer. But the bottom line is that DCC hasn't been meeting its legal requirements to produce an annual infrastructure statement. And I'm concerned that the answer given doesn't tell me as a member when I can see the SIL and Section 106 money collected by DCC. It talks about an action statement and by the end of the financial year. Can you confirm to me within the next month what development, what SIL and Section 106 has been collected and whether that's the correct amount? Please.
Councillor Twist.
Thank you very much for the question, which I share a degree of frustration, actually, as to the reasoning for that question. I'm not sure if I can get an answer in the next month, but I'll certainly see if I can. I think the answer was particularly helpful, though, because it's actually giving us a clear statement of when the exact position, up to date and ongoing, will be provided. As you all know from being a member of a district council, that's a planning authority. Section 106 agreements are far from straightforward. It is quite difficult to track them from time to time. Often, certainly with large developments, Section 106 payments are triggered by the number of homes built and so forth. It can lead to confusion, and I think this is a great way forward. So if I can't give you an immediate answer, i.e. in the next month, 6 weeks or 8 weeks, whatever it may be, you'll certainly have that, as the answer says, by the end of this financial year, and then permanently going forward. We have to have a more accurate way of making sure we know what cash is due to us, that it's arrived, so as we can put it to the projects where it's intended. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Twist. Question 4 is from Councillor Hodgson, 20-mile-an-hour speed limits. You have a supplementary.
I do. Thank you. Thank you for your reply. Well, we still haven't received any notifications following the 2023 20-mile-an-hour submissions, and still more pedestrians, and including many children, are daily put at risk by cars travelling far too fast through urban areas. Your reply hasn't really answered my question, as we haven't considered changing our policy to move this forward to make a real difference in terms of amounts of 20-mile-an-hour areas. Please, can our policy change be investigated?
Councillor Hughes.
Yeah, thanks for that, Chairman. Well, we have got a policy. I mean, we came up with a policy quite a number of years ago now, and we said that we'd look to bringing forward, I think it was up to 5 20-mile-an-hour zones in areas. We've had those 150 requests that have come forward. So far, I think there's 15 or more 20-mile-an-hour speed limits have actually been agreed. And we've also had some more community funded schemes. I think 3 communities, Exminster, Ugborough and Kilmington, they're actually working with us, so we can actually do something for them with our officer time. So we are moving ahead, and it is, of course, officer time that we need to actually move these schemes forward. So I think we have got the right policy, and leave it like that, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Hughes. Question 5 is from Councillor Bailey on judicial reviews. For Councillor Saywell, you've had a written answer. Do you have a supplementary on this one?
Yes, I do. I'd like to thank Councillor Saywell for his response. The reason I asked this question is because as a member of this authority, I prefer to be informed by this authority when there are judicial reviews rather than reading about it finding it on Google. So this response doesn't really give me, I'm not interested in names or specifics, but I would like to use judicial reviews as a learning opportunity for this council. So I'd like to ask Councillor Saywell if he could produce, please, within the next 4 weeks, a document for members of this council advising what lessons have been learned from any judicial reviews in the past 12 months. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Saywell.
I'm happy to look into that, and we can arrange something as is appropriate. Again, I think with this, we have to be very careful about what detail we can go into, because some of these are live cases. But I think the main thing for me that I'm pleased about is that most of these cases that are taken against us, we win.
Thank you very much. Agenda item 10 is a framework decision on the Youth Justice Plan. Now, I will ask the Leader of the Council to move this. There is one framework decision that requires approval by the Council today. So I'll ask the Leader of the Council to formally move Minute 592 related to the adoption of the Youth Justice Plan and formally present the item to this council. Councillor.
Thank you, Chairman. It gives me great pleasure to actually formally propose that Council actually endorses this, because we had a really good debate at Cabinet. It was quite a long debate at Cabinet, which were members asked a lot of questions, and there was some very good and enthusiastic response from various officers involved, and the positive transformation of the service is being achieved. So very happy to move.
Thank you. I have a seconder, I understand, Deputy Leader. Councillor Davis. Oh, I'm sorry. Councillor Ledbetter.
Comments, do I make them now or later?
Your choice.
Shall I wait till after the debate?
Wait till after the debate come in. Councillors, does anybody wish to comment? Councillor Atkinson, definitely. Anybody else before? Councillor Atkinson.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. My question of the mover and the seconder is, why hasn't this report, to my knowledge, gone to children's scrutiny and indeed to corporate scrutiny, SIRS committee? Because this is such an important cross-cutting report which covers children not in education and training, which we had a report on for Looked After Children today, and our role in relation to police, where we've had working parties in relation to how they're operating in the past. And my recommendation would be that this council should not be having a report before it today, before this has been through a full scrutiny process. It's such an important report, especially in view of the shortcomings that have been identified in the services, and a little change, improvement has been made in the last year, and the difficulties in the service and the cross-cutting issues here, that I formally would like to say that this report is not taken at this time, but referred to full scrutiny, be that children's services or SIRS. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Atkinson. Any other councillor wish to talk on this? I just get clear. Councillor Lever, are you putting your hand up? Put it a bit higher next time, can you?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Put your hand up a bit higher next time.
Sorry, thank you.
Right.
Thank you, Chair. This is a really interesting read, and it's obviously a massively important area of work for the council and its partners. There are a number of different things that I identified in the report which are of interest to me. Now, one of the things is, of course, that we're seeing an 8.6% increase in the number of children who have got free school meals that are eligible for them in the last year. And although this report does not make that direct link between deprivation and crime, there is certainly there can be links that are made. I think for me what's incredible is that what we're seeing is this report shows that there's an upward trend of first-time entrants of young people going into the criminal justice system or having contact with the criminal justice system. And we know that over many years that there's much evidence about once a young person is involved with the criminal justice system, that can take it is more likely that their route will be into further criminal activity than if they do not enter in the first place, hence the focus on it. My question is, what is going on in Devon that means that the trend for an upward trend of first-time entrants into the criminal justice system. Why is that different from the national, where there was a reduction? And also, I wonder if someone could speak about the significant increase in the number of young women who are involved in violent crime, as is noted in the report.
Councillor Collins.
Thank you, Chairman. I was hopeful that the Leader of the Council might have spent more time introducing the report. There are things in the report which should cause us all concern. One of the things I particularly enjoyed about the report is some of the case studies where children have come into the youth justice system, or young people have come into the youth justice system, but have clearly been helped and have found a way forward, which is really reassuring, and we should celebrate that success. There are clearly things in here when you're reading through, you think, gosh, what's being done about that? In a separate council meeting, we talked about the value of having the Ombudsman's decisions against this council shared and aired. And I particularly welcome a contribution by Councillor Atkinson saying, well, why hasn't it gone to scrutiny? Because it would help, actually, both in sharing this work, this actually vast body of work and the detail to it, and is there value? So I would support the request for it to go to scrutiny, although I suspect from looking at your James, you might tell me it's already gone. You have, it has already gone, fine, thank you. I don't sit at the time on either scrutiny, any of the scrutinies, but I do now. But nonetheless, come here as the central body of the council to discuss, and I think it would have helped if the leader had taken some time to do the highlights and the areas of concern and help feed that conversation, Chairman. I note all that said about it. I mean, clearly the Cabinet have discussed it and it's here for note and to support the action plan, Chairman. I think by the look of it, this might be an opportunity missed to have had a really good debate in Council about it. And I think that comes down to the leadership actually arranging and facilitating that by setting out the plan and what the council have done and how it's working with the partners and what the partners are doing and what their strengths. We've been here in the past, haven't we? Not necessarily talking about youth justice, but talking about how our partners, how can I put it diplomatically, could do more to step up to the plate. And they haven't necessarily always done that. And we've been fighting to get them there. And so I just think, you know, when you've got a report like this, it's not just about what's going well, it's about what needs to be done, what's being done, those sort of timeframes that work. And I think that's about leadership stepping into this and helping the council understand more about what the county council is doing across the county. So I think that's slightly an opportunity missed. Thank you very much, Chairman.
Councillor Lear, can you turn your microphone off, please? Thank you. Okay. Anybody else want to speak? Because I know the Chief Executive wants to speak. Oh, sorry. Councillor Hosham.
Thank you. Just very briefly, I think one of the biggest missing elements of how we support young people is the lack of youth clubs, youth groups. They make such a difference to young people's lives. They're very, very strongly preventative. If youngsters from the age of 8 can independently go along to something once a week, once a fortnight, where they meet some friends and are able to just make real friends, not Facebook friends, or, you know, they're supported properly, I think that's the biggest thing we could possibly try and do. And I recognise this is like far down the road from that, but that's the lack of that is where a lot of this starts. And we stopped that in 2013. I think this is why we've got a problem on our hands that probably was quite anticipated that decade or so ago. I just put a plea for that.
Thank you. Chief Executive.
Thank you, members. In terms of this report, what you're seeing here today is what our current practice has been. And many of the discussions that we've observed in the last year in improvement of our children's services, then we do recognise that all members would like to have better sight in terms of that partnership piece. And I think that's something we can take away. Maria's going to explain as a monitoring officer that this is where we are just now, but I think in terms of taking this away and having better line of sight and partnership working, that's something that should be considered as part of our improvement journey. particularly in an example like this where the improved partnership working with police locally has been significant, and it's an opportunity also to bring partners to the table, but also for to celebrate progress, but also to challenge where we need to challenge more. So certainly in discussion with the monitoring officer, that's something that can be reviewed. But in the current technicality, if you could explain why, please.
Thank you. So quite right, this is a statutory report and it is a multi-agency report, so it comes from the Youth Justice Board. We have had this on the forward plan for quite some time, and it clearly hasn't made its way onto scrutiny's agenda, but it's definitely something we can take away for next time. It is a statutory report, we do have to deal with it now for this year, but I think we can definitely take that away for next time.
Thank you. Any other councillor want to come in? No? In which case, Councillor Ledbetter.
Thank you, Chairman. I appreciate what people have said, but actually this is a good report. It's an improving report. I would remind members that when Ofsted inspected, we had a good rating. That is correct, isn't it? Yes, not that long ago. So the service has been rated as good. The report's gone through Cabinet. Scrutiny had a chance to call it in. It's not my place to put things on scrutiny's agenda. Scrutiny need to decide what they want to scrutinise, and they, by all means, we can take this back to scrutiny to have a look at. About debating, we had a chance to debate it at Cabinet, and we've also had a chance to debate it today, if anybody wishes to say anything about it, which people are doing. I actually commend this report to the Council, and it really shows a lot of important work that is going on. It's the second report that we brought, and it shows a great deal of increased leadership, development and work. Solid progress is being made, even though we had that good report. And the board now has a very strengthened leadership team. And in fact, members of all our partners. Let's bear in mind, this is a partnership board. It's not all about Devon County Council. There are 5 partners, and we're all working together on this. As I say, all 5 partners are now represented, and they're all represented at a very senior level. So an awful lot of work is, well, you know, we all know how hard it is to bring people with us. We've worked very hard to make sure all our partners come with us to provide a very good service for our children who we look after. I say lots of work is going on to improve the use of data, to prevent prevention and our offers, and underpin the service development. Bear in mind, custody and detention rates overall remain low. And in fact, we've now established a board, a hold panel to look at why children are being, if they ever are held in custody overnight, because the report says that children aren't in custody. So we're making sure that nobody's held in prison cells overnight. And one of our main priorities moving forward is youth violence. So we are addressing that. So I would say there's an awful lot of work has gone in to this service. As I say, it had a good rating. There's more work to do, but this is a strong report, which I commend to the Council, and I'm happy to second it. Thank you.
This report has been, or the item 10 has been proposed and seconded. Everybody in favour, please show. Thank you. Those against, please show. Abstentions? Thank you. Item 11 on the agenda is report of Cabinet members. And the first one, the report of Cabinet Member for Public Health, Communities and Equality. So would you, Roger, come to the front and Steve Brown join. I got 2 chairs there. If not, you have to bring a chair as well. Okay. Roger, the floor is yours.
Got it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, members, apologies for the length of the report. It's quite a broad portfolio, and I hope you have a chance to read it. I'd like to highlight a couple of items, if I may. At the top of page 7, there's a short paragraph on the Household Support Fund we were given to understand that it comes to an end the end of September. That's this year's allocation. I'm pleased to be able to say that the new government, bless them, have actually increased that now until the end of March. So that would be useful. So the County Council receives this fund, and last year it was 5.1 million, and distributes to district councils, depending on, and the amount that goes to the district council depends upon the number of people on universal credit. So that goes out to the district councils, and CAB and a number of other useful bodies. The Household Support Fund also funds the food vouchers for pupils on free school meals during the holidays. Interesting to note that pre-pandemic, there were about 12,000 children on free school meals. That has now increased to over 20,000. So that's a bit of good news, actually. The next bit I'd like to see, on page 11, there's a short paragraph on 100th birthday. So on 15th of July 1924, library service was, Devon Library Service was inaugurated and came into being. So a bit of good news there as well. Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to take this opportunity to utterly refute the seemingly popular belief that I attended the inauguration. That's all I've got to say at the moment, Mr. Chairman. So I'll take any questions.
Thank you, Councillor Crowd. Can I just say, under this new system, you are raising questions in relation to the report, not into a wide open discussion. Okay, I go Councillor Tracy Adams, and then Just Bailey, and then Caroline Lever, and then Alan Connick. Okay, yes? Tracy first.
Thank you very much, Councillor Crowd, for this. Two brief things I'd like to raise, if that's okay. On page 47 on my document, under the new waste arrangements, it talks about being able to bring 4 bags, I believe it is, of rubble into the recycling centre. I'm just wondering about the process of that. I have had residents who, and I think you've given me a reply on this, but it is an opportunity while we're talking about bringing those bags of rubble into the recycling centres. I have residents who only have one vehicle, and that is a works vehicle, and they have no other vehicle. And so they are prohibited from bringing rubbish, their personal domestic rubbish, to the recycling centre. I'd like to highlight that as an issue. The response I was given is that it was too difficult for the staff at the recycling centres to monitor that. But I would say it is a social injustice for those people who only have one vehicle and they can't access the opportunities at the recycling centre, and it will cause fly tipping and all sorts of things. So I'd like to highlight that and see if the committee will be prepared to consider looking at that as part of their policy. The second one is about libraries, and it is just a gentle reminder really to Councillor Crowd. I can see that Bideford Library has moved to an art centre, and I know we've had conversations about Pinho Library moving into the potential Pinho Community Hub. I appreciate we've had conversations, but since I haven't heard anything recently, I'd like to highlight that if you were prepared to get back to me privately on that, I'd be grateful. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Just Bailey.
I just actually wanted to say thank you for the work that your team are doing in Venottery for the flood scheme, the flood alleviation scheme. It's been really impressive. My division was probably affected more than anybody else's in the floods on the 9th of May 2023. And it's really excellent to see that the flood scheme is underway. I think it's actually being carried out at the moment, and I'm hoping to go and visit next week. So thank you to the flood team. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Lever.
Thank you, Chair. And thank you to everyone who put this report together. I'm going to just looking at page 50 in our agenda pack, and particularly around oral health promotion. Absolutely, prevention, fantastic. We all love prevention. It saves costs, saves pain, good for everybody. But I suppose my question is about what is the council doing about ensuring that looked after children, I mean, children in the care of the council, have access to dentistry, and how many are not getting regular dentistry?
Okay, thank you. I'll now go to Councillor Collins.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm using the number of pages in the council agenda, Roger, so that may be different to your notes because you were using a different page system. So at page 46, I was surprised to read the separation out of waste. So I use the abbreviations that are in the report, but in essence, the waste form WUDS, which I think is upholstery to you and me, isn't it? The Environment Agency insists that that waste is separated out, transported separately to the incinerator, where in some Ealing comedy type way, it gets put back in together, burnt together. But that is an additional cost to the council of transporting it separately. Can I ask the cabinet member if he has an idea of what the cost is to the county council of meeting such a ridiculous requirement? If the Environment Agency know that at the end gate, it all goes into the same skip, all gets burnt in the same incinerator, why on earth are we having to separate it out and transport it in separate trucks? In what world would that make sense to anyone? And when public money is so scarce and so tight, why do we have to meet that cost when there are other things that this county council could usefully be spending that money on? My next question, Chairman, is in relation to page 47, and then this relates to the waste, the DIY waste that households can take to the tip. And it says a web-based IT pre-authorization system is being developed. And my question is, when will it be developed? When will it be available? If I move on, Chairman, then to page 49, the Cabinet member sets out a list of meetings that have happened in the past quarter. And at the bottom of page 49 is the Devon and Cornwall Police and Crime Panel. I should be grateful for the Cabinet member's views on the appointment of a Deputy Police and Crime Commissioner, the extortionate cost for that, and the relevance given that in 2017 that same individual was apparently not appointed when scrutiny felt that person not to be of merit. On page 50, Chairman, we have the oral health promotion, and while my colleague Councillor Lever's asked about the dentistry for children in care or looked after children, may I ask for a statement about the general health of dental access for NHS customers across Devon? Now, we've had reports in the council in past months, actually, about the awful situation with regard to members of the public being able to register and get an NHS dentist. We're told it's meant to be getting better. Is it? And if not, when will it? Because everyone says it's important. At the bottom of page 51, Chairman, I too would like to extend my thanks to all of those in Devon County Council who have worked so hard since the floods in Kenton, both to assist and help restore Brook Path in the village. It is greatly and very much appreciated to all of the staff, to the management team that have helped facilitate it, and thank you very much. And then, Chairman, if I may just take you to libraries. Sometimes I ask people to speak in plain English and also ask them to write in plain English. I'll just read these words to you. I can't believe you wrote them, Roger. The strong performance of Devon libraries continues to outstrip pre-pandemic performance and national trends. That's all right, we get that. Physical issues of materials saw an additional 107,000 issues in 2023-24, an increase of 5.2%, with digital issues for the same period seeing an additional 123,000 issues. There seem to be a lot of issues in libraries. Do we mean we give them more books out? Wouldn't it be just as easy to say that? And the man and woman on the Clapham omnibus riding through Devon might actually understand just how well our libraries are performing. I'll leave it at that, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. I think I'm going to stop there. There are some more people who want to speak. But Roger, you've got a number of points there. I think I'd go through some of those now, if I could, before I call other councillors to add to what's required.
Never thought I'd be quite so popular, Mr. Chairman. First of all, Alan, you make a very good point about the segregation of the waste upholstered seating arrangements and with the pollution, whatever they're called, POPs. I've written to the Secretary of State on 2 occasions now to complain about this excess cost. And by the way, that excess cost is certainly in excess of £100,000 per annum. It's just nonsense to segregate it. Plus the fact we're withdrawing services from the public because not all of the household waste recycling centres are big enough to hold an extra skip, especially for any upholstered waste. So we're going to have to reduce the service that we give our residents, all for this nonsense. Actually, I've written twice now to the Secretary of State, not the new one yet. I will do, but unfortunately, I've only got a very short time now to bring this in before the end of December. So we're going to have to move on that. And I will, in the meantime, I will write to the new Secretary of State to see if I get any more sense out of him or her. I can't remember who's the new Secretary of State is anyway. But the previous one, I just got a load of gobbledygook back from them, as you might expect from civil servants probably everywhere. So, no, I didn't write that library bit, actually, and I read it myself about 4 times before I sort of thought I can generally understand it now. But I think that the underlying bit is the fact that actually libraries in Devon are bucking the trend nationwide, and they're doing a really, really good job. That was my sort of like trying to get that over to people. What else did I? Deputy Police and Crime Commissioner, nonsense. It was turned down and turfed out at the last scrutiny meeting, but unfortunately, we just scrutinised. So unfortunately, then we got the message over to the Police and Crime Commissioner, who did the opposite and appointed one anyway. She tried this about 4 years ago. We threw it out then. But she's feeling a bit stronger now, I think, because she's got a bigger majority. So she's appointed a Deputy Police and Crime Commissioner, much against the wishes of the scrutiny panel. Can't think of anything else. You said when what? Dentistry. Yeah, sorry, Alan. That's not from Alan, was it? I got 4 questions from you. Did I cover them all, Alan?
Chairman, my colleague councillor, you asked about dentistry for children in care.
Yeah.
I asked about general access for the general population to NHS dentistry.
Can I get you and Caroline, I think, can I get your written answer on those ones? Is that okay? Thanks very much. Jess, thanks for the flooding bit. Done a good job there, I think they have, haven't they? Thank you. Now then, vehicle Vehicles, yes, I've had this come up a couple of times. It's a difficult one to, so we need to, I need to hear from the person themselves. Can you pass that message on? Perhaps they can email me, and I will get them an answer on it, because I quite agree. But it's a difficult one to get over. But we're going to have to solve it somehow. That particular one, because that's not the first time I've heard it from anybody. And as far as libraries concerned, yes, I'll write to you on that. Actually, I've got a note to sort of like get in touch with you. By the way, the Bideford Library has been in my books now for about 10 years now, I think, sort of thing. But we've only just managed to get that one out. Can't think of any more. Steve, got any more? No.
Councillor Collins he asked about the website.
I asked about when the scheme would be, the IT web-based system for people to have pre-authorization.
Oh yes, when?
Yes, when?
Yeah, it's actually in development, Alan. It's another difficult one to crack, and it's basically that the scheme has come out of government, the last government, and it's just cack-handed. It's very difficult to police. But I could say when. This year.
Okay. Councillor Atkinson, then Councillor Crabb.
Thank
and
you,
then Councillor
Chair.
Ridley.
Firstly, I'd like to thank the council and the people of Devon in particular for the welcome they've given to refugees and asylum seekers and the support that we're currently giving them under the government scheme for resettlement and employment opportunities in looking after their care and well-being. And I think that is a very worthwhile cause, and I thank everyone involved in that good work. Two further questions. One, what is happening about finding a permanent site for St Thomas Library, which is in temporary accommodation at the present time? And also another one on waste. The DIY waste, the rubble, the 2 bags of rubble, I just speak personally here. I took bags of rubble which contain plasterboard, and so I was told that's not rubble. They will only take it if I separated the plaster from the board. And I thought, well, what am I supposed to do with this if I don't bring it here? And it was 2 bags of rubble. So what is the answer to plasterboard? Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Crabb, Paul Crabb.
Thank you, Chair. Between Alan and Roger, they picked up all the points about the sofas. Thank you.
Councillor Wrigley.
Thank you, Chair. Can I just share in your delight of the fact that the Household Support Fund has been kept on and kept going. I think that's a really good thing. Your mention of it supporting the holiday meals reminded me of the question that I wanted to ask about the holidays, activities and food programme. I went to visit the splendid setup that's been running in Dawlish, supported by the Devon HAF organisation, which is really good, and I commend their work. But I understand it's coming to an end in December, after December. So can I ask what is going on from this council to encourage the government to extend that programme as well, please?
Any other Councillor Atkinson, you've got your light on. Anybody else want to come in? No. Okay. Last one's then, Roger.
St Thomas, yeah. It was always going to be a temporary one at St Thomas. That's the nature of the thing, I think. You know, we had to move from the old one because we were chucked out of it, basically, when they put the new shopping bit in there. We moved then to I can't remember the name of the road now, but that's the chairman of Exeter Chiefs wanted the building back so he could sort of develop it. So we've moved then down to the some hall or another. I can't remember now exactly, where it is. It's a temporary arrangement and will continue to be a temporary arrangement. I don't intend to spend a great deal of money getting a new library when you consider that less than a mile away we've got the biggest library in the county. So it will remain a temporary sort of movement. Waste, well, that's an individual one. You wouldn't mind just dropping me an email on that, would you? And I can actually sort it out. Where was it? Pinho, was it? Okay, if you did drop me a note on that one, that particular one. Holiday activity program. I don't know about that, Martin. You just drop me another email, would you? Just pop it down on an email and I'll follow it up for you. That was it. That's it, I think. That's it.
That is it. Thank you, Roger, very much. Thanks, Councillor. And Steve Brown. Okay. Next one to come forward is Councillor Hughes. He's also given a written report. Stuart, if you'd like to talk on your written report first, and then I'll see who wants to speak. Okay? Thank you.
Good afternoon, members, and a few updates for you to the report that's in the papers today. I can report we've now carried out 18,000 square metres of additional serviceability patching across 350 locations, and also an additional 7,000 square metres of elastomac repairs. And I'm sure you've actually seen some of this work actually taking place in your electoral divisions. You also see several representations have been made to Louise Haigh, the Secretary of State for Transport, regarding the old Chestnut pavement parking, which is still one of the issues that generates a large amount of emails. I get them, and I expect you get them as well. Patrol, which I chair, we sent a letter in my name and also the Director Laura Padden's name, calling for this long-running issue to be addressed. Now, Laura actually met the DFT civil servants last week, seeking updates, and some progress will hopefully be announced later this year or earlier next year. That's what they say. And I see we got Councillor Room and Councillor Wrigley, now our MPs. Perhaps you can chase it up for us. Pavement parking, and also the moving traffic powers as well. That's the other issue. Right, that's my report. Any questions?
I've got two so far, and that is Councillor Connick and Councillor Cox, but I've also got Thomas and Room, Hodgson. I'll stop there for a minute. I'll carry on in a minute. Okay, Connick first.
So, thank you, Chairman. I'm grateful to the Cabinet member for his first report, which is County Road Highway Maintenance. And in the spirit of that title, may I ask him who controls Devon's highways? Because in Ken Ford, the utility firm has dug 2 trenches across the main road. It backfilled them late last year, and since December, the County Council has been chasing to get the repairs and reinstatements done. It's infuriating the people of Ken Ford. It makes the County Council look as though it doesn't control its own roads. Highways officers or the network enforcement officers are doing all they can, I understand, but it's not enough, and Ken Ford deserves better. In your report on the South West Exeter Housing Infrastructure Fund, you talk about the update and Alphington Enhancement Scheme. May I ask, in consequence to the South West Exeter scheme, what plans you have to create a new cycle walkway between South West Exeter and Ken Ford in order to link the two communities, particularly given that Ken Ford children may also be going to the new Matford Book Academy, which opened yesterday. And it's really vital that we have a safe walking, cycling route to from Ken Ford to Southwest Exeter, where it then accesses into the usual range of pavements, footpaths and cycleways that people in Exeter can enjoy. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Cox.
Bit concerned, and I know other councillors near me are concerned about road works done under the New Roads and Street Works Act 1990. Basically, the county council has no power to stop people digging up the roads, and of course they do dig up the roads. But of course, the gas board or the water companies use contractors, and contractors are looking for the best value. In other words, not inconvenience to them, but inconvenience to our local motorists. And what can we do to push these companies, statutory undertakers, to ensure their contractors don't inconvenience our local motorists? We had over a weekend traffic lights that were stopping traffic on a road that was empty, because it was a nearby road was being dug up. Now, it needed to be dug up to protect the workers when they were working there. It could have been shut down and it could have been stopped otherwise. And this is happening all over the place. And with increasingly emergency traffic lights put up, it's causing major inconvenience to motorists who unnecessarily. And we need a deal with the statutory undertakers to stop them doing this, because obviously contractors will look to maximise their profits, and that if that means inconvenience our motorists, that's what they do.
Thank you. Councillor Thomas.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm grateful for the report from the Cabinet member, and indeed on the first page of the report, I welcome the white line gangs and the tremendous number of mini roundabouts, compact roundabouts and zebra crossings. I know the white line gangs have been out doing more conventional white lining work as well. My question to Councillor Hughes is there a protocol or a decision-making process, I'm sure there is, that decides which ones are done when and where? In my division, one village might be done, lines might be painted, redone, and another one might not be. And I was under the impression that local highways officers had some sort of input into when they happen. So my question is basically, is there a schedule, and can it be shared with members as to when areas are redone in terms of the white lining gangs?
Okay, thank you. Next one I've got, I'll just blind through it. It's Councillor Room.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. One thing I'd like to ask is, and I did see the Chief Exec and the Leader in Parliament this week, and thank you for your visit, was since we've got the portfolio holder and the head here is that head of the service, is what is the update on the finish time for North Devon Link Road? Have we got a date for that's finishing? Because as we know in the past, it's been extended and things. So that would be really good if you could tell us that. And the other thing is, I have noticed some of the nice repairs that are going on around Barnstable, particularly, on Braunton Road, where the patchwork's been put in and the repairs there. It's looking really good. But I know there's so many more roads, and how many square meterage? You've gone from 1,600,000, I think, to 1,800,000 that you've just reported. But how much more can we do with the money that you've got left?
Okay. Councillor Hodgson next. Then I'll get some answers.
And if Councillor Hughes would like to email us, we'll take his points forward to government.
Yeah, Councillor Hodgson.
Thank you. Thank you for the report. And it kicks off with the 10 million, which as we know, 10 million sounds like a lot of money, and it is a lot of money, but it really doesn't go very far. And it's like we're constantly playing catch up, and we've got a huge, it's really welcome many of roads that have had some of the worst potholes sorted out, and these extra works, that's great. But it really feels like constantly that this, the no money cry is the response to every time we ask for something. So certainly, as has already been mentioned, it'd be really useful to see what decision making. We hear about it with the criteria for the 20-year MPH proposals, But with all these other things, which are very critical to our communities, it's just potluck, it feels. Keep sending it in, keep asking for it, keep reporting it in, completely lose track over a few years what has and hasn't been reported in. And still, you know, the mess is still the same. And there's some really quite serious areas where white lines missing in the road, where people end up stranded in the middle of a road that used to have an arrow and a box in the middle of it. It's gone. But actually there's nothing there to kind of make it safe. And to be honest, the message I've had from a highways officer was, oh, well, it's safer when there's no lines because people are more careful. I'm not sure that's really the case, but anyway, that's what I just wanted to feedback really, what are we doing to get more money out of government, to get some of the real backlog sorted out for our roads, because we do have a critical problem still with many of the roads in the rural areas, because obviously, understandably, a lot of the money that comes in does go to the more urban areas, the busier areas, but the rural areas do need that care and attention too, and it certainly is an issue that I'm facing every time I go to a parish or town council meeting, that when are we going to get some more money for the zebra crossing we've requested, or some lines in the road, or something to stop the speed. It's, you know, it feels like nothing happens in some of these areas, and certainly in my division it feels like that.
Thank you. I'll take Councillor Crabb, and then I'm going to get Councillor Stuart Hughes to try and do some answers. Councillor Crabb.
Thank you, Chair. As members will know, it's massively inappropriate to raise parochial issues in a full council meeting, but I'm just wondering if Stuart would authorise the Ilfracombe Neighbourhood Highway Officer to meet me and please put some paint on the zebra crossing outside Co-op where residents occasionally get flattened. That would be most helpful. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Stuart, have a go at some of those.
Thank you, Councillor Crabb. I thought you'd contact your own neighbourhood highway officer. You must have his number. Give him a call, and I'm sure he'll meet up with you. Councillor Hodgson, yeah, you raised that point. Of course, yeah. Well, the current backlog for highway maintenance in Devon estimated around 200 million, increasing by another 15 million pound a year. And of course, the national backlog has increased to a record high of 16.3 billion pounds. So there we go. What can we do apart from keep making representations to the government and through our MPs that are sitting in the chamber to take on board and to say we need more money here in Devon for our highways. Safety inspections, they're carried out, and of course it all comes to a needs-based assessed at the present time. Alan raised a couple of points there. Utilities, Ken Ford reinstatement, she'll chase that up for you. And as for the cycleway, that is included in the LC WIP between Ken Ford and Exeter to have a cycleway. So watch out for that one. Councillor Cox, can you let me know the location where that work has taken place, and we'll have a look into that one. And Councillor Thomas, lining works. We're actually doing a lot of work from the west to the east. I expect you would have already said you've seen some work taking place in one of your villages, and I expect you'll see some more. But we also work on a worst first basis. And Councillor Room, A361, Andrea, not me, and hopefully I'll answer all the questions. That's it, Chairman. Thank you very much.
And stay put, there's another pound more coming.
Sorry?
Another pound more
Another
coming.
one?
Sit down. Oh, yes.
Oh, okay, right.
Councillor Adams.
Yeah, thank you. Oh, Adams. It was me. Okay. To me or me? All right. Thank you very much, Councillor Hughes, for this report. I would just, something that's missing on page 58 is part of the Devon local cycling and walking infrastructure plans. There's no update there on co-bikes and co-cars in Exeter. We were promised when I spoke to Andrea, Councillor Davis last time, that this was your portfolio and you'd report it in your report. In my division, there are bollards everywhere. I'm fighting to keep, you know, residents keep asking me why there's these empty spaces. Are the bollards going, or are we having co-bikes back, or some form of electric bike, electric cars? Obviously, that's what we want, but if we could have an update on the procurement, we would be grateful. Thank you.
No, Councillor Atkinson.
Yeah, thank you. I'd like to again say thank you to the improvement works in the public realm in Alphington as part of the Exeter development that they're now progressing and coming to the end. And to say, the cautionary tale here is we are as a council getting lots of plaudits for saying how wonderful it is, despite years of negativity and people proactively fighting against those same improvement works. And members like myself and Andrea standing out and saying, no, these works will improve it and we're going to go ahead with them anywhere. So, I mean, that is, an example of sometimes we do need to stand firm in the face of negativity and opposition to see the longer term view. But the good news is we're getting a very positive feedback about the works. And then moving on from that, which is partly touching on what Councillor Adams has said, we've obviously got a description of meetings, the Vision Zero Southwest, how we're trying to target influencing drivers and active travel, and then also the active travel meeting we had, where apparently we're doing great work to improve options for active travel in Exeter across Devon, and they were impressed by our level of ambition. Well, in view of the recent negative opposition, which you've all been aware of, to some of these active travel measures here in Exeter and the debacle of surrounding all of that issue, where in accordance with these positive plaudits here about zero emissions and active travel, is our ambition now in going forward in promoting active travel and reduced emissions in our road traffic orders here in Exeter and in Devon in particular. And of course, part of that would be something would relate to the question that Councillor Adams raised about co-bikes and co-cars being part of that formula. And lastly, I just want to say, we've been told for the last however many years that this council has presided through the last government over managed decline in our highways. I therefore find it a bit rich for people to stand up and say, new government 3 months off the blocks, we're now going to demand money for potholes in Devon. Well, where was your government for 14 years in providing those potholes? And we are where we are now in this parlous situation. Thank you.
Thank you, Carolyn and Councillor Atkinson. Can I just say, Councillor Cox, I will get you, but can you switch your mic off, please?
Oh, sorry.
Councillor Wrigley next.
Thank you, Chair. Following on from Councillor Thomas's request for timescales and welcoming the White Line improvements, I too am welcoming the brightening up of things like zebra crossings, which is actually really helping. But can we have a timescale, please, for the implementation or the progress of the 20-mile-an-hour schemes and the double yellow line parking restriction schemes? Because those seem to be, I keep on getting a message back saying, oh, it's been delayed, and we don't have another date for when it's going to come through when talking to my highways officer. So I really would like to see those schemes implemented, please. We have a long time had the painted spray canned indications where the lines are going to go, but no lines. We even got the signs for the single yellow lines, but no lines. So some dates would be good, please, some timescales and better feedback on the progress of matters, whether they're delayed or whether they're advanced. If we know, we can tell people. If we don't know, it just makes it very difficult.
Thank you. Councillor Lever.
Thank you. Mine's a really quick question. I mean, first of all, I'm thrilled to hear that there's white lines going down and zebra crossings. I haven't spotted any in my division, but I'm looking forward to that with some anticipation. I really just wanted to ask about the moving traffic powers that Councillor Hughes mentioned, that we're all waiting for the Department of Transport to come back to the council, having written, beginning of the year, perhaps, a long time ago, waiting for these moving traffic powers. And I just wondered if we could have an update on what the latest was that we have heard, or indeed if we have not heard, and could we perhaps write again to encourage the Department of Transport to respond and to allow Devon to have these powers? Thinking about devolution, wouldn't that be nice to be able to do that?
Councillor Lech, this is the way I'm seeing people.
Thank you, Chairman. I would like to thank the services for the wonderful road between Crediton and Yeoford, a great highway, you might guess. I illegally went down it on Monday because it still had a road closure notice. But the locals are smiling, saying, yes, isn't it wonderful? You can get to Yeoford and it's beautiful. But what about the 377? There are still lots and lots of places. And it is difficult, I know, with the money going around, but we do feel that the A roads should command first call on budgets. Because some time ago, through Crediton, there were over 10,000 traffic movements. I doubt if there are 500 going from Crediton to Yeoford. And so to me, it's an area of priorities. I would also like to reiterate about the 20 mile an hour. I was at a parish council meeting on Tuesday, and the clerk was saying he was very confused. He put in a declaration of interest about a 20 mile an hour, and had come back and said it's closed, go away. So he's wondering what are his next steps. Thank you, Chair.
I'll take Councillor Gilbert next. I've still got 4 more after that, to my knowledge.
Mine will be very brief, Chairman. I just want to say thank you very much to Highways for the level of service that seems to be improving. The patching, the increased patching is making a big difference. Slowly, bit by bit, you're getting there. But it's the quality that's mattering. And I'm really pleased about that. And I was absolutely delighted last night coming back from an exceptionally good dinner at 10:30 at night to see the level crossing in Kingsbridge being white lined at 10:30 at night. So thank you very much for that too. Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Cox. I'm going to go through this time. Heaven help. Councillor Cox. No. Councillor Cox. Councillor Cox. Nope. Councillor Whitten.
No, she hasn't fallen asleep. I just wanted to highlight an observation about the report. This is, as we are all aware, a new system of presenting cabinet member reports, and can I suggest what seems to be a slight shortcoming? Councillor Hughes, we all appreciate the information you've given us here about what is being done on roads maintenance. That sounds extremely encouraging and welcome, but I am sure we are all aware that the public perception is that our roads are in a terrible state and that a lot of work is still required. And I just wonder if it would have helped put a context on the information you've provided to have also provided some detail about the backlog and what still needs to be done. And can I perhaps ask that in a future report you bear that in mind and provide us with not just the good news, but perhaps indicate what might still be required and something of a shortcoming. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Twist.
Chairman, thank you very much. This is all music to my ears today. I'm delighted to see and hear that the quality of the portfolio reports has improved significantly since I presented the first one in this new style at the last meeting. Rome was not built in a day. It takes time to get things right. But I'm absolutely delighted today that the overall consensus is that things are getting better. And it's really like music to my ears to hear that. So the new format, despite my less than perfect start, is clearly working. I would say, I don't know which song it is. Now, somebody will tell me this about lobbying for more funding. I have no particular love, no offence to the gents on the other side of the room, of politics in Westminster. I don't care who we lobby to get more money for my county. And the line I'm looking for, someone will tell me the song is, meet the new boss, same as the old boss. It's a who track. And I just want to say, I don't care who I lobby, give me more money. But today is really uplifting. And Stuart, thanks for your report. That's been really excellent. You'll tell me the tune, I'm sure. Thank you.
Chairman, can I just ask, whatever Councillor Twist has been medicated with, can we all have it?
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Biederman.
Well, I think Alan just stole my thunder when I stood there. I don't know what you've been listening to for the last 45 minutes, but I really appreciate that South Hams has clearly been looked after, and I think we heard a bit about somewhere else in South or West Devon, but certainly North Devon. I think if you spoke to anybody in North Devon, I say Torridge, I think we feel that we've had a fairly short change on a lot of this money that came from government. So I guess my question is, of the 18,000 square metres that we've patched, how much can we break that down by each area of the county and by each division, please, so that we can actually see that we are all getting a fair deal. I wanted to push on Councillor Room's question. I appreciate it is in Andrea's bag, but Meg is sat there, and it is a strategic thing in North Devon with the North Devon Link Road. I think the last time we heard it was going to be finished by the end of the summer. There still seems to be an awful lot of activity going on, and you could start to argue we're moving into the autumn. So when will that be finished? I think that I appreciate it's not, Stuart, but Meg, you must know an update on that. It's something we get questioned on an almost daily basis. Stuart, you were really kind and very helpful when the Cedars roundabout scheme kicked off and we had a disastrous first week, and you and a senior officer come up to North Devon and visited and were really helpful, and I appreciated that at the time, and I still appreciate it to this day. You also came on a little mini tour where we looked at Sydenham's Hill and the atrocious state that it's in. I can report it's still in an atrocious state. I can report that apparently it's still in this financial year for patching, but we have no date. And I think, we councillors are, and there'll be schemes all over the county, it'll be the same. So I am being a bit parochial, but I think for me, the level of information we get as frontline councillors that have to go to meetings and face the public and time again say it's in this financial year. To be honest with you, we look silly, and if it is in this financial year, we must have a rough idea when that work's going to be done and real firm commitment, because this particular road in my division, Lord knows how many claims have come, but it really, we do need that help. And yeah, and similar with the 20-mile-an-hour scheme that you looked at with that, I really want to push that. And I think I'll just finish by what I hear when we're in all our meetings and different things. There just seems to be a massive disparity between the level of support you get from NHOs. So, there's some that are brilliant, some that are not so good. And I think, really, how can we get a more consistent offer from across our NHO network? Thank you.
I'm taking two more, Councillor McGuff and Councillor Price, and I'm going to call this to an end because I think we've pretty well had a quarter of the councillors asking questions. Councillor McGuff.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chair. This will be a surprise. I want to start by thanking Highways for the new pedestrian crossing going in down towards Appledore near the school. It's been long fought to get for the safety of children. Thankfully, say it's hopefully be implemented soon. So that's absolutely positive. I need to touch on Councillor Biederman. I feel my area has been vastly underinvested in. And that my area is Northern Division, that's Westwillow, Northern and Appledore. The government money that we were given for the additional funding, quite frankly, you might as well pee in the wind because I didn't see any of it. I've asked the question as well, how much per kilometre do my roads get based on other areas? I asked this probably now for the past 6 months. I've not received a question or response back on this. I do find it unacceptable because I'm raising it on behalf of the residents. Now, the residents to me are very important, so I'd like to give them an answer. Touched on the no waiting restrictions. Absolute chaos in Westwillow over the summer. It's been going on for the past 3 years since I've been a county councillor. I want to say it publicly to people, I am challenging this. We do need to act upon it. Even our own staff are suffering with the abuse they're getting from the public. Now, I've raised the issue of safeguarding for the staff. Now, it's very important safeguarding staff. Think about us, councillors. You've got to safeguard councillors as well. We're on the front line. We get the abuse all the time. Okay, you might get a narky email, which is not meant in that manner, or aggressive tone email. It's not aggressive tone email for me. It's a direct email saying, I need help. So with the no waiting lines, we need help with these down Westwood Ho in the village. Now, I'll definitely be raising this one here. I will continue to raise it until I get what I need down there for the residents, okay? So if you like, take the note there, Councillor Hughes. You've been very responsive in the past, and I hope we continue this going forward. And on my last little bit, all the new MPs, I'd like to congratulate our 2 MPs who got in there. I don't care what party they are. Congratulations, your public put you there. I'm sure you can do a fine job. And it's nice to see you here today, because you can make an excuse saying you're too busy. You're not, you're here, so thanks very much for that. On that point, the new Labour government, please give us the funding we need for the Torridge area and the Northern Devon area. Please remember where we exist. It's not all Exeter-centric. Just because we may be Conservative vote in my area, don't penalise us in our area for funding because we vote Conservative. The public wanted that. That's democracy. So please give us the additional funding we need. Thank you.
Councillor Price, and I'm calling it to a stop now. Councillor Price.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm sorry I missed the beginning of the meeting, but I was at another function. I made it back very timely. So, last week, my area engineer and I agreed to do 2 speed checks in different roads that the public say they're speeding. So I cover Duryard in Pennsylvania, an inner city ward. Anyway, the strangest thing is he took me on a route and he kept pointing. What he's pointing at, do you see all that patching? Do you see all them potholes? Well, I'd already seen it before. But he made a point of telling me that we've been very busy in my ward doing all this work. And so, Highways, Councillor Hughes, please convey my thanks to whoever was responsible, but in particular the contractors, because we've had a problem with not having enough to do the work. And the second thing is, Stoke Hill Junior School, where there still exists a 30-mile-an-hour zone until yesterday, we've got a brand new zebra crossing. They've been fighting for 30 years for this, and we're so pleased because the funding for zebra crossings at our nearest school is a bit limited. So please convey my thanks. The school, today's Thursday, isn't it? Yeah. So it was open this morning. Well done. In the rain.
Thank you very much. Councillor Hughes, you've got an awful lot of things there.
Say that again.
Right, let's try.
Yeah, thanks, Chairman. Yeah, thanks, Councillor Press, and we'll certainly take that on board, and we'll make sure the contractors let them know that you're really pleased. Councillor McGough, I find this absolutely strange. I really do. Councillor McGough comes down here, and then he says nobody comes up, nobody looks at anything there. Although he had a senior officer visit Westwood Ho with him 3 weeks ago to look at the whole lining issue. And so it's only 3 weeks ago. Give him a chance, please, and we'll get that one sorted. Councillor Lech, the A377 Copplestone. You'll be pleased to hear it's being resurfaced later this month. So there you go. So you'll be able to take that one back. And also the 20 mile an hour, that'll be in the next tranche. Councillor Whitton raised an issue. Yeah, we'll certainly take that on board. Your comments there. We'll make sure we do that for you. Councillor Biederman, very difficult to actually break down the square meterage to each division. That would entail a lot of officer time, but I mean, perhaps we can see what we can do for you on that one. Local issues, of course, you need to get hold of your NHO. If you've got issues, then let me know and I'll see what I can do for you. Councillor Lever, no updates on the moving traffic powers. I think I mentioned that when I started my update on my report, and hoping that the Secretary of State, Louise Haigh, will actually see a way forward into getting those moving traffic powers moving, because we were in the third tranche It seems unfair that tranches 1 and 2 are operating, but we're left there in the lurch. Councillor Wrigley, I'll get you a written reply on your white lines, etc. And Councillor Atkinson certainly lobbied the government, no matter what colour, about potholes. And as Councillor Twist said, won't get fooled again, of course, with the big hit there from the Who. And as for the replacements for co-bikes, yeah, I'll be glad to see that happen. Tender going out later this month, so that's some good news there, and I look forward to seeing the whoever wins that contract and the bikes around Exeter and the rest of Devon. I think I've covered everything there, Chair. That's Andrea Davis, not mine.
You haven't got a date. We will write to you about that. Thank you all very much indeed. Thank you. Thank you. Last one to come forward is Councillor Sewell, and he has given again a written report. And Andrew, is there anything you want to say on this report?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You'll be pleased to hear I prepared an extremely long speech, but in light of the late hour, I will not do that. You have the written report in front of you. I will take a leaf out of Councillor Crode's remarks. I do apologise for its length, but this is a wide-ranging brief that I cover, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Okay. Questions? I'll start with Councillor Connaught.
Thank you, Chairman. I just wanted to take the Cabinet member to page 64, the very bottom paragraph. It's about development of the member portal. I'd just like a bit more information about timescales on when this might be trialled or when it's going to be available. But in particular, how does a Cabinet member see it working in terms of timescales for responses to councillors? Now, other councils have a member portal through which all of our inquiries go. Some are absolutely brilliant about responding in a timely fashion, which helps all councillors respond to their constituents. Others see it as the kind of cesspool of filth of members' inquiries, which just sit in some corner somewhere and then get responded as and when someone feels like it. For a system like this to work, Devon County Council needs to be wholly committed to a time frame that actually enables members to respond to their constituents in a timely fashion. And for the system to be able to differentiate between the really important, as in next couple of days, or even today, and the ones which might be fine in 2 weeks when it's less important. And it's really important to me that this system works. So I would set out as a point on a scale and be adverse to a members portal system. But I do know they work well elsewhere. So I'm at the neutral point on them, provided the intention behind them is good and honest about supporting all councillors to do their job as constituency members. But if the intention behind it is just to provide a letterbox through which emails can go and be conveniently forgotten about, then there's going to be ructions in this place. So your confirmation about what the intention is and when it might be trialled and how members are being engaged in what would make it work would be really helpful. Thank you.
Okay. Any more people with questions? No. Councillor Sewell, I think everybody taught themselves out at the last session.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Councillor Connaught, thank you very much for your question. I entirely agree with your sentiments. In terms of target, I can't give you an exact timetable yet, but we are looking within the next year. We are working very hard on the development, and I know it's something that the governance working group, we are looking at it as well, and I fully expect that that will be taken through. We have had some experience in setting up a portal of sorts for MP inquiries, and that has helped actually clear an awful lot of backlogs we've had from members of Parliament. I think we need to have further discussions about timescales and how quickly there will be responses, because like you, I know other councils, it seems to vary from council to council. We need to do some benchmarking on it. I do recall a friend of mine, he was a councillor in Camden, and I think they had a portal, and he said, oh yes, we get to use it, it's very good. And I think he said it was 12 working days he had to wait for a response. Well, I was horrified by that, because I don't wait that long to get back to my residents when they write into me. So I would certainly be looking for it to be quicker than that. But again, I say that I want to take this through the governance working group, and I want to have a consensus on what is the right way forward. But clearly it's got to be a system that works, that, like you said, Councillor Connett, it differentiates between the non-urgent to the really serious ones that need a response as quickly as possible. And absolutely, it is as far as I'm concerned, and so long as I have anything to do with it, it will not be about pushing members' inquiries somewhere in the ether for it to sit on a virtual shelf to be forgotten about. That is not what the intention is for here. It is actually to have accountability, so that if we do have any issues with officers or members of staff from a certain directorates not responding to member inquiries, by having this portal, we can highlight it and then hold them to account for not answering those questions. So I think this is something that should be an improvement. And yeah, we need to get on with it. And I hope that we will get this portal up and running as soon as practical.
Councillor Sybil, thank you very much. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Well, this was the most exciting report of all.
Don't push your luck, Councillor Sybil. They may get their revenge on you next time or sometime. Agenda item 12, minutes of committees. There are no committee minutes called for debate. Therefore, I can first, as chair of the Standards Committee, move the minutes of the 8th of July 2024, and then the Procedures Committee meeting on the 25th of July 2024, including minutes 69 and 70. Can I first ask the Council to endorse minute 69 and the associate amendments to section 3C of the Constitution, paragraph 14, on officers' decision and publication thereof? Now, does anybody know what I'm talking about? Right.
Chairman, no, I don't support it as set out, and I have two brief reasons why I would ask the Council for their consideration. If members go to page 87, at page 14.9, says that for decisions between £500,000 and £1 million, a record of the decision should be completed. If you go to 14.10 below, it says for decisions under 500,000, individual services will keep a record of those decisions. So at 14.9, it's going to be will, is it? No, it doesn't say that here. And at 14.12, it says decisions must be published as soon as possible. And I don't think as soon as possible is good enough, because if it was said 9 months was as soon as possible that they could do it, you couldn't argue against it. If members have to make changes to their declarations of interest, we have a time frame to do it, 30 days. So why couldn't decisions be published within 20 days or 20 working days, whatever it might be? As soon as possible is too vague to be hopeful in terms of governance, Chairman. But those are my 2 points. I'm grateful to the officer for saying that at 14.9 it will now read should be completed, but at 14.12 I'd invite the Chief Executive and Monitoring Officer to accept a timeline rather than as soon as possible, which is unhelpful. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else got any comments at this stage? County Solicitor.
Just going to propose an amendment to maybe take care of that one. So if we can say, as soon as the decision is made and within 5 working days, would you be happy with that?
I'd be very happy with that, Chairman.
I have to move it formally. I'll move those two changes. Can I have a seconder from the room, please? Councillor Connick, thank you very much. Okay, on the basis of that then, I come back to what I said. First, endorse minute 69 and associated amendments in section C. I will move that as amended. Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Connick, thank you. Everybody in favour, please show. Thank you very much. Thank you. My pen's running away from me now. I now formally move. I'm not quite sure, including minute 70. 70 is okay, I take it. Nobody's questioning 70. So can I move formally all committees listed on the agenda in accordance with Standing Order 13, including the School Transport Appeals Committee, held on the 10th of June and the 8th of July, Investment and Pensions Committee, held on the 14th of June, 2024, Audit Committee on 26th of June, 24, Children's Scrutiny Committee on the 17th of June, 24, Health and Adults Care Scrutiny Committee held on the 24th of June, Corporate Infrastructure and Regulatory Services Committees held on the 27th of June. Is that agreed? Thank you. In which case, I'll now move to the next item on the agenda, which is notices of motions. And before I start, I have a lot of reading out to do. Can I have everybody's attention while I state the process and order of debate that we will now follow? Members will note that a slightly revised process was agreed by this council at the AGM on May 2024, so I would ask members to listen carefully. I will first ask the mover of the original motion to speak. They will have 7 minutes to introduce their motion and also respond to the cabinet recommendation, which has been printed with the agenda for this meeting. The seconder of the original motion will be asked if they wish to comment, or they can reserve their right to speak later. The leader will be asked to move the cabinet minute and the deputy leader to second. I will then ask the mover of the original motion if they will accept the cabinet recommendation. If they do, the accepted word becomes a substantive motion, and the debate will commence with the leader having the right of reply. If they do not, the leader will be asked to speak and explain the cabinet recommendations. The seconder, deputy leader, can speak at that point or reserve their right to speak later if they choose. I will then open the debate, inviting all other members to speak. After the debate, I will ask the leader to sum up and the council to vote on the cabinet minute. If the vote is lost on the cabinet minute, the original motion becomes open for debate and the usual rules of debate apply. If this is carried, there are two options. The council either votes on the cabinet minute as a substantive motion, or if there is to be an amendment, then it should be submitted at this point. This must be seconded. The seconder has the right to speak at this point or reserve the right to speak later. A further debate will then take place with the mover and further amendment having the right to reply after the debate. A vote will be taken on the amendment. If lost, the motion reverts back to the cabinet minute and further amendments can be submitted. If the vote is carried, this becomes substantive and the council either vote or further amendments can be submitted again. Now for some general reminders. The council must only debate one amendment at a time. When submitting amendments, they must relate to the motion. They can refer the matter to a committee, leave out words, insert or add others, but must not introduce a substantially new proposal or give effect to a direct opposite of what was proposed in the original. Well, this might sound complicated. It is very similar to the council's previous process. The difference being that the council hears from the mover of the original motion first, rather than at the end. The council will also ask the mover specifically if they accept the cabinet recommendation, so the council is clear on the view of the mover at the original motion. With these new processes, the chair will determine how much time will be permitted to debate motions, up to a maximum of 2 hours, as outlined in the Constitution. I got here in red that I'm supposed to speak and say I intend to allow up to 2 hours at today's meeting, so I'm timing it. After all that, first motion up for discussion is working families. And it was moved by Councillor Adams originally, and would she like to address the council on her motion, and also, as important, her views on the cabinet recommendation. So, Councillor Adams, over to you, and don't everybody run away, please.
Right, I'm starting to take offence. Thank you. I'm not sure I'm going to follow all that, but I'm absolutely certain someone will tell me if I'm not doing it right, so that'll be okay. Thank you very much for the cabinet resolutions here. I welcome very much, as they have mentioned here, the spirit of their response, which matches pretty much what I'd put in the motion originally. I suppose my concern, which wasn't in the motion, but really I just want to seek reassurances on this, that flexible working is laid out in the motion as really important for recruitment, retaining and supporting and the well-being of the workforce. It has come to my attention that sometimes people have asked for flexible working in the council and it hasn't been offered to them. It may be for good reason. But I suppose my question to Councillor Saywell and to the Cabinet in general is, it is easy to ask for flexible working, but if it is refused, is there a fair appeals process? I don't know about that, so I'd like to know that. Is there somewhere else for that person to go if they feel they haven't been listened to? And is there a report that goes to a committee just looking at the fairness of flexible working within the council? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. On the basis of that, Councillor James McInnes this time. Oh, sorry, do I have a second for... Right. Councillor.
Thank you, Chairman. I'd like to move the Cabinet recommendation, and I will read it out because I think it does cover most of in the original motion. The Council welcomes the spirit of the notice of motion, and members are asked to support the commitment of the Council in promoting flexible working via Happy to Talk Flexible Working, linked to relevant job adverts, and the Proud Flexible by Default strapline on the careers page, and also note that the motion is a reflection of the Council's current recruitment process. And B, Council is asked to note that the published recruitment advice for other employers recently enhanced, but the Council will also continue to work with local businesses and organisations in relation to the championing the best practice for recruitment and retention, including the role flexible working can play in this regard. I think it's important to read that out because the original one was quite long and that encapsulated into 2 paragraphs. Happy to move the Cabinet recommendation.
Councillor Davis, are you happy to second?
Very happy to second.
Okay, thank you. I'm now going to ask the mover of the original motion whether or not you will accept the Cabinet recommendations.
I do.
Thank you. If they do, the Cabinet minute is now the motion on the table for debate. I open the floor for debate. Does any other councillor want to speak on this? Councillor Atkinson.
Yes, I wanted to support this motion because the flexible working arrangements, as members of this council will know, did change in March, I think, this year. And an ACAS report found that very few people were aware of the changes and their right to ask for flexible working several times, and that there was an ACAS agreed procedure for dealing with these. And given that we have an industrial strategy here, we have duties that we want to take on as a devolved authority for promoting skills and active involvement in employment. I do think we have a duty to be very proactive in promoting flexible working, not just across this council for the work to retain people here, but also across the economy of Devon, because this does benefit working families and women in particular, and we do need to get more people who have retired around the pandemic to get back into work. And I think more flexible working arrangements which can support perhaps a flexi retirement would be very welcome in improving and getting skills back into the local economy. So I would like to see a bit more of a support for this, you know, a passion, if you like, for this from this council than is currently being, I think, proposed in the cabinet report back on this motion. And I do hope that this will be something which will be taken up and monitored by scrutiny going forward, because I think this is very important to getting Devon working again. Thank you.
Thank you. Does any other councillor want to speak on this? Councillor Morris?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I must take issue with what I've just heard. One, it doesn't matter to me whether we're talking about men or women, and I just don't understand why that argument would come into this debate. We treat everybody the same, I thought, but obviously not. And who are we as councillors to be telling our good businesses how to run their businesses in the wider economy, I think was the word you used.
It's the law.
Those businesses, don't laugh at me. I sat quietly and listened to you. Please give me a bit of respect. They are the people who provide the finance for this council. This council, this government, has got no money at all if it were not for the taxpayers and those that pay business rates. They know how to run their business, and flexible working for some may work. For others, it may not. If you have a person who employs one other person, and that one other person wants to be flexible working from home sometimes not, when it suits them, whatever they want to do, that isn't going to work. So who are we to tell them how to run their business? I just think it's totally wrong that should be suggested, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Anybody?
I have a point of information, please, because actually I didn't say we would tell people, I said we would promote the changes in the law so that people were aware of them. Thank you.
Councillor Lever.
Thank you. I just wanted to welcome the change in the law that enables people to ask businesses who do absolutely create wealth to consider flexible working. I think that is a good move forward. The only other thing I'd just like to say about this is that, you know, we welcome what's being put forward to be approved, and we we will vote for this, but we regret that it's been watered down somewhat. That was all. But yeah, complying with the law is a really good first starting point for businesses.
Okay, thank you very much. Does anybody else want to speak? No, James?
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, members, very much for your comments. And from my perspective, the Cabinet recommendation here does encapsulate the original motion, but it's not so many words. And I think it's imperative for this organisation.
Questioning my grammar.
Sorry?
Are you questioning my
No,
grammar,
I'm
James?
not at all. You would know more about your grammar than I would. But I would just like to absolutely encapsulate that the County Council has to work flexibly with its workforce, and we have to not tell businesses, but we have to work with businesses that we work with as well. It's in all our interest to find a way for people who work for you are actually working comfortable in the workplace, because that way everybody benefits. And I think paragraph A and B encapsulates that, and that is certainly the sort of feeling of the motion that's before you. So I ask all members to support it. Thank you.
On the basis of that, I take a vote. Everybody in favour, please show. Basically unanimous. Thank you all very much indeed. Item 14 on the agenda is another motion, decline of the swift population. Bearing in mind how we went just now, I will ask Councillor Bailey first if she would speak on her motion, and then I'll ask Councillor Bradford if she wishes to second the motion. Councillor Bailey.
Thank you very much. I think probably everybody in this room would recognise what amazing birds swifts are, and how devastating it is that their decline has been so rapid and so extensive, and how important it is to try and stem that decline, and the urgency with which we want the government to act. I don't know whether I'm allowed to now say why I don't really like the amendment. Am I allowed to? Thank you.
Have this floor for a maximum of 7 minutes.
Oh, well, I think I don't need 7 minutes, because I think we all know why swifts are so important, and they're an iconic species that we absolutely have to do everything we can to protect. And as an authority, we should be speaking out and contacting the government about this. I don't agree with the proposed amendment because it doesn't really help. First of all, the whole reason behind my original notice of motion was because we need urgent action. So the problem with local plans is they take forever, whereas by contrast, the Secretary of State for Communities, Angela Rayner, with a dash of a pen, can change building regulations and can make the installation of swift bricks mandatory immediately. So rather than wait for councils across the land to take years and years to adopt local plans, which may or may not contain requirements to have mandatory swift bricks, it can be done by the government incredibly quickly, and we need that because this is something that's urgent. So that's the first reason. It worries me, and I don't agree with the fact that we've got reference to local plans in the amendment. It's too slow and it doesn't achieve anything. The second reason it doesn't achieve anything is because all the district councils that are planning authorities already have a legal duty to adhere to local nature recovery strategy actions. So what I'm trying to do is do something different, and that's writing to Angela Rayner, asking her as Secretary of State to make swift bricks mandatory in all new housing development. And it's particularly important at the moment, and it's particularly important for Devon because of the pressure of house building and the likely new numbers of houses that are going to be built. So I'd really, really urge members not to accept this amendment, which is basically just not really achieving anything and actually just kicking it down the road and won't actually change anything, because local authorities have to do what the amendment says already anyway. And I'd really, really urge you, please, to support my original notice of motion. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Bailey, do you wish to speak now? Bradford, sorry, Councillor Bradford.
I just want to say that I second that motion and I just think it's a no-brainer.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. The Cabinet recommendation here before you, and I'll read it to you just to make sure that everybody's clear, that the Council be recommended to support and encourage Devon local planning authorities to incorporate the relevant local nature recovery strategy actions required to recover swift populations, and as such, installing swift bricks into the local plan policy guidance. Now, I've heard very much from the proposer, and I've just spoken to the colleagues either side of me, and we would be very happy to have a B that we write to the Secretary of State. And would you like to put together an appropriate paragraph for that? And happy to add it to the Cabinet recommendation, because I think from the Cabinet point of view, we were very clear we need to work with our local planning authorities and encourage them to actually be proactive in protecting the swift population, and that's what the first paragraph does, but I'll be very happy to have a second paragraph relating to the Secretary of State. Chairman.
Councillor Davis, are you seconding this motion?
Very happy to second.
Thank you. On the basis of that, I come to Councillor Bailey. You don't like the recommendation from the Cabinet. Are you prepared to have an addendum added to this that we write to the Secretary of State? Would that make this recommendation better for you?
It would make it much better, thank you.
Right. Yes, please.
I think you have probably got something we can adapt from what you had earlier. So recommendation B would be Devon County Council therefore agrees to write to the Secretary of State calling on them to urgently make swift bricks a mandatory requirement in all new housing development.
Okay.
Yes, please.
Now, on the basis that you are prepared to accept, you are prepared, sorry, on the basis that you are prepared to accept the Cabinet recommendation. Thank you. On the basis of that, then, I've got a number of hands going up to discuss the Cabinet recommendation, which has become the recommendation. Am I correct? Right. Councillor Biederman first, then I'll take Councillor Khan.
Forget me, Chair. A couple of our Devon MPs heard it. I just couldn't see the point in not adding the Devon MPs.
Councillor Khan.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Can we include that we write to the Secretary of State, Angela Rayner, and Devon MPs, just so that we cover the whole lot?
Councillor Prowse.
Thank you, Chairman. You might remember a few years ago, we had a motion a bit like this about bees. I didn't believe a word of the motion, and I said why I shouldn't support it. So anyway, this is swifts. And every time I read this motion, I'm thinking, how on earth do they know that that's the number that's going to be in the UK next year? They don't live here. They come over every summer. I was born in Stonegate Teenage, you know that. It's a village near Newton Abbot, and it's in a dip, and it's near a brook. And the village was full of swifts or swallows, if you looked up, but you couldn't tell them apart because they're so fast. And we went out there in the summer, and again, I looked in the sky. They're still there, different ones. And I'm thinking, how do they count that there's only 40,000 pairs in the UK? I do hope the move of the motion can tell me all that, because when I was on the City Council planning, we insisted that a nearby hotel put up a swift box on the roundabout. It's quite an elaborate affair made of stainless steel. I go past that roundabout 3-4 times a week. I've never seen a swift or a swallow go in it yet, because they do like to choose where they live. And how do we know that ready O's in the side of the house is where they're going to live? Yesterday I went to Belle Isle, which is where the council keeps all its grass cutting equipment, and there's a house there as you go in. It's Dr. Searles, and I've noticed the cheeky little swifts or swallows built a nest made of mud on top of his burglar alarm. So I'm thinking, how many little them bricks will we have put in a building? But they do like to choose where they live. So I'm never baffled by all this science, and I thought, well, let's lighten the day. I might abstain. Bye.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Price. Councillor Brooke and Councillor Wrigley. I'm going to have a wide open one on this and leave it.
Chairman, members, I don't think it's actually statutory to planning authorities to impose this type of nest box necessarily, but I do know that Mid-Devon actually encourage it in developments in rural areas. And I think one has to be quite sensible about this. Swifts live where the food is, and it's probably not going to be in town, but definitely in the rural. And so Mid-Devon, as an authority, do make it a condition.
Thank you. Councillor Wrigley, then Councillor Lever.
Thank you, Chair. Only very briefly about do I declare an interest or not here as being referenced in the motion. I'm not entirely clear, but I'm happy to support it.
Thank you. Councillor Lever.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you to Councillor Bailey for putting this motion in the first place. I have to say swifts are a glorious bird. But just really quickly, I had a quick check on the RSPB website about how one supports population, well, stopping population decline in swifts. And I'm not a scientist, Percy, but there are systems that people have developed to be able to count numbers. But the RSPB suggests actually there's something that each and every one of us can do to help support swifts, and one can get a nesting box, or indeed I suppose build a nesting box, but it does need to be at least 16 foot up. It needs to be right up in the eaves of houses, and as swifts are social animals, it suggests that the number of boxes are put up together. Now, some people, particularly in perhaps more rural areas, might be able to do that. Perhaps some people in this room have already done that, in which case I applaud you. However, as an authority, and as local planning authorities have got some responsibilities in this, could I also suggest that we consider that the biodiversity net gain that local planning authorities, we could encourage the local planning authorities to include the provision of swift bricks as part of the biodiversity net gain on a site-by-site basis, which would not need to wait for local plans to be developed. And I suppose the other thing that is suggested to me is that we as a county, we could be looking at where we are building things, I mean, new children's homes or whatever. Actually, is it appropriate or a good thing for us to have swift bricks in the buildings that we develop, perhaps?
Can I note what you're saying, but we're talking about the amended resolution in front of us at the moment. I've got Councillor Hodgson next.
Thank you, Chairman. I actually take a slight exception to some of the way in which...
Could you get closer to your microphone,
Sorry,
please?
I actually take quite exception to the way Councillor Prowse responded to this. I don't think it's something that's funny and we should dismiss. I think it's really important to a lot of people. It's important to our culture, and we ignore and laugh at nature to our own risk. I think this is a really important motion, and I think that it's been put forward. I think the proposed amendment to bring it to the attention of the government is really important, and I welcome that, and I'm happy to support it. I think it's, we should recognise just how lovely our world is with nature there. And the reference that was made to a nest that was on top of a fire alarm, that was just for Councillor Prowse's information, that was probably a swallow nest. They tend to do that rather than actually go into a box, just so he knows.
Thank you. Councillor Crabb.
Thank you, Chair. I speak as someone with a vague interest in this, as having a very expensive and very purpose-designed swift box on the side of my house. And every year without fail. It's inhabited by a lovely group of sparrows who have a marvellous time there. I want to come on a more general point in the fact that this council primarily is here to fix roads, educate children and put out fires, broadly speaking. That will do. If we did that and concentrated on that, it'd be fantastic. Planning is a local authority issue, so that's district councils, and government is a government issue. So there's two taps over there you can have a word with, but this constant thing about this council should write to government, this council should write to Angela Rayner. No, this council should educate children, put out fires and maintain highways. That's probably where we should be prioritising. So speak to your local district councils, get them to take this on board, get them to put swift bricks in the plans, and then happy days, we can all go home before 6 o'clock. Thank you.
We'll see how we get on. Councillor Aves.
Thank you. As one of my hobbies is bird watching and has been all my life, there's a lot being said that people don't quite understand about the difference between house martins, swallows, swifts and where they nest. We're learning lots about where wildlife will nest because our buildings are not the natural place. They would have normally nested on cliffs and high up. Yes, the swift boxes bricks need to be high enough. Can I advise, so as not to go on and speak about it for hours and hours, apart from the fact that they do come into towns. We've had swifts in Exeter again this year, and as they left recently, I counted 60 above where we live in the middle of Exeter, leaving the city and feeding on the flying ants as they went. So there are a lot of swifts coming here, and it would be good to encourage more, and that the young they produce will tend to come back to where they were born, where they hatched. And so it would be nice to have more places for them to actually nest. So I'm not going to add all that into the motion. What I would like to add into the motion is that when we write with advice, before we do that, can we ask the RSPB for accurate advice that is sent with that letter? Thank you.
Can I assure you that's what we would do anyway? Okay, I've got nobody else that I've seen wants to speak again. In which case, I'm talking about the motion now, which has been accepted by Councillor Bailey. So, Councillor McInnes, will you sum up, please?
Thank you very much, Chairman. And thanks very much for that debate, members. Lots of different views. And I'm really pleased that we've been able to add B, writing to the Secretary of State and our local Devon MPs. I think for myself, I live on the edge of Oakhampton and a new estate, and there's an awful lot of swifts zooming about. In fact, some of them have tried to make nests underneath the eaves of the house. So I think it's very much a town and a rural issue, and I'm very much happy to support, and I hope all members will as well. Thank you.
I'm going to put this to the vote. Everybody in favour, please show. Thank you. Because of comment that was made, is there any other amendments coming forward? Bearing in mind, everybody seems to, it was a unanimous vote there, I shouldn't be. Okay, thank you. Unanimous vote. Next item. Sorry? Thank you. Item 15 is protecting Devon's pensioners from biting winter fuel cuts. Now, as I've been informed, this is a new motion, but we're actually going to debate it today because of the timescale in relation to the budget that's due to take place in October. And it's been proposed by Councillor Connett and seconded by Councillor McInnes. So I'll ask Councillor Connett first to speak on this. What I've said is, when we go to open debate, I would appreciate new comments made, not repetition of what somebody else has already said. So let's see how we get on. Councillor Connett.
Thank you, Chairman. I don't know whether I need to formally ask Councillor's consent for this debated now. So formally, Chairman, I ask the Councillor's consent to debate this motion now.
Okay. You are moving. You are happy to second. Everybody in favour, please show. Thank you very much. Councillor Connett, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chairman. At the end of the debate, I shall ask for a roll call vote on the motion. Thank you, Chairman. Chairman and colleagues, Some people might ask what the role of Devon County Council is, whether it's here simply to put out fires, fix the roads, or educate children. My view would be that we are here to speak for all of the people of Devon. The Prime Minister says he will not avoid taking tough decisions. It's not the tough decisions that worry me, Chair. It's the cold, callous decisions like axing the winter fuel payments. A cold and callous cut for 9 in 10 pensioners, and with no regard to the impact it will have with regard to the rise in fuel prices. Across Devon, including the council areas of Plymouth and Torbay, 249,987 pensioners will lose out under the new rules. In the Devon County Council area, that's 180,579. And if colleagues will bear with me, I'll just take a few seconds to tell you district by district how many that is. In East Devon, 39,585. In Exeter, 18,144. Mid Devon, 17,345. North Devon, 21,777. In the South Hams, 21,732. In Teignbridge, 31,473. In Torridge, 16,467. And in West Devon, 14,056. We know as councillors that not all pensioners wanted or needed the winter fuel payment. They have sufficient means not to need payment. But if there were to be a change, they wanted the funding directed to those in greater need than them. Primarily now, pension credit is the gateway to receive the winter fuel payment. However, we know that some 880,000 pensioners entitled to pension credit do not claim it. Stung by the growing concern that poorer pensioners will freeze this winter, the government says it must now do more to help entitled pensioners claim. I'm sure that we all welcome the sincerity and heartfelt warmth of that afterthought. But what about those caught in the double whammy of being just above the benefit threshold and having to find more from their precious little income to pay the increased fuel costs? It'll be a cold winter for them. This motion recognises the need for change, but believes the government has gone too far in its plan and will cause real but avoidable hardship to those pensioners, those thousands of pensioners across Devon. To my Labour colleagues in the chamber, I hope they will do the right thing, make the tough decision, put pensioners first, party second, and back this motion. Or they might vote against, putting their party first in helping to condemn thousands of Devon pensioners to a cold winter. But they might abstain, quietly accepting the indelible stain of shame while muttering the hollow words of sympathy to their elderly residents. Many will have voted Labour in July, believing the party's campaign slogan, change. What they could never have known or thought was that change Labour meant was that pensioners would not be able to turn on their heating this winter. Devon's pensioners deserve better. Please support the motion today. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor McInnes.
Thank you very much, Chairman, and I'm very happy to second the motion, and I'd like to thank Councillor Collett for being very gracious in allowing me to do so, and I would like to reserve the right to speak later in the debate.
There are messages coming around here, but I don't know what it's about. Can we have some clarity before I go into the debate? Does somebody want some clarity on this debate? Councillor Whitten, is it? Or a member of the Labour Party? No? Okay. Right.
Sorry, Chair, it would be helpful. I'm not sure that the motion was seconded.
Sorry, now I'm terrible today. It's now open for other people to speak. And I'll take Councillor Whitton first. I see I've got Councillor Atkinson, I've got Councillor Room, I've got Councillor Jeff Trail as a start, and I've got Sarah Randall Johnson. I'll pick the rest up in a minute, okay? First, Carol.
Thank you. I'm sure Councillor Connett and Councillor McInnes, in putting forward this motion, are well aware that the Chancellor, who I would remind Councillor Connett is actually female and is a she, not a he, the first female Chancellor of this country. And that the Chancellor made it absolutely clear when she made this decision that it was one that she was very reluctant to have to make, but felt that there was some extremely difficult choices which had to be made in order to fix the deficit that the black hole in the nation's finances, which have been left for this current government to sort out after 14 years of Conservative administration. And I would remind Councillor Connett that his own party was involved in the start of that process when his party was in coalition with the Conservative administration. And the difficult decisions that the Chancellor had to make, she has made absolutely clear, would have not been needed if there was not such a dire situation facing the nation at this stage, and that the current Labour government has made it clear throughout in its run up to the last general election and in the 8 weeks it has been in power, that it will take that its first priority will be to take responsibility for the nation's finances and to put the nation's finances on a sound footing going forward. Whilst I sympathise with some of the comments that Councillor Connett has put forward, I note that he has not made any attempt to suggest an alternative proposal for fixing those finances and for how that black hole in the nation's finances would be fixed if he were Chancellor. I would also point out that, as I'm sure he noted from recent statements in the press, that it is projected that all the nation's pensioners will benefit from a £400 increase in the pension in the forthcoming year, which I think we would all welcome. I do indeed support the proposal that everything possible should be done from top down to ensure that every single eligible pensioner takes full advantage of the opportunities available to them to apply for pension credits and to take advantage of all the financial support that can be afforded to them under the pensions credit system. But until there is an alternative proposal on the table for fixing those public finances, I'm afraid that no, indeed, I would not support any proposal that extends the black hole in the public finances and makes the situation of every struggling person in this country far worse. So I cannot support this proposal. I have been advised, however, that there is going to be a debate in Parliament on this issue, and I look forward to what is going to be the outcome of that debate, which is incidentally where this subject should be debated, not in this chamber. I find it slightly disingenuous that the leader of this council is now allowing a full debate on a subject which is clearly a Westminster issue when the current government is a Labour government, and this council has repeatedly said that these subjects should not be debated here, but in Westminster. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Atkinson.
Thank you, Chair. I'll try not to repeat the points that Councillor Whitton made so ably, if I may say. Clearly, it's been a difficult decision to come up with this. And I look around this chamber and I think, how many in this chamber would qualify for winter fuel allowances who... Sorry?
Can I ask, you are
Sorry.
talking to the council, you're not asking questions.
Yeah. Well, it was rhetorical. There are lots of pensioners, like myself, who would get this benefit who don't need the money. But there are a lot of working families, single parent families in poverty who do need it. And I think what we need, what this motion is lacking is, we've already had a report to SIRS on poverty in Devon, is looking at it across the board here. I think it is right to take money from pensioners like myself and give it to the working poor, the single parents, for instance, and that it needs not just a simple knee-jerk reaction like this, but it does need a rebalancing, because we need those people to be fit and able as well, to go to work and not be in poverty. And we've had reports on the poverty that exists in this county. As my colleagues said, pensioners will get a £400 pension increase, which I think more than makes up for the loss of this for the higher earners. Of course, those on pension credit will still qualify, and this motion quite rightly says that we should encourage those who are not currently claiming it to be claiming that. So this is a more of a cross-cutting issue than just simply looked at this. And it was a difficult decision, and it is a difficult decision. And I'm proud to say that my party is listening, and it has agreed that there should be a full debate in Parliament on Tuesday to look at this issue and to hear the views and to come up with it. And I do hope that members taking part in that Parliament who are sitting in here will come up for this party and suggest where the money is going to come from and how the working poor in Devon can also get money. And you'll also have heard today, if you went to corporate parents, that the Labour government has agreed to extend the household support grant so that those who are unable to meet some of their needs, who may be pensioners in this county, can apply for the household support grant where they have to spend money on fuel and maybe are lacking as well. So it is a more complicated issue than this motion suggests. And I do think that, given that we have had an in-depth report on poverty, that it would indeed be a good subject for scrutiny to take a broader look on whether, how we could adjust the benefit system, taking it from the richer pensioners, if you like, and giving it to some of the poorer pensioners and indeed some of the poorer working families in this county. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, just to recap, I've got Councillor Room, Trail, Lever, Randall Johnson, Price, Biederman, McGough, and Wrigley. No? Right. I can knock that one out now. Easy. Councillor Room.
Mr. Chair, the Speaker allowed the debate next week, not the Labour Party, may I add. It's the Speaker who unusually allowed this to go forward to a debate pending that it is before the Chancellor's budget. This issue, as an MP, I'm talking as an MP, and I'm sure a lot of these emails have come through to my county email system, so I don't know if any other councillors have received emails from concerned residents about losing the winter fuel payment. But I've received quite a hefty amount of emails from pensioners who are just above the limit to claim pension credit, who are going to feel the pinch this winter. I've spoke to many Labour MPs who are also not very happy with this motion, and they're going to make it. They are going to make it known to Keir and Rachel Reeves. And I think the issue here is that the utility increase. You talk about this 400 quid, but at the end of the day, utilities are going up by at least 10%. So they're giving it in one hand and they're taking it away in another, and that's that. What we're saying is to reinstate it with a better means-tested system in future, but not so short, because people are relying on it now. Some of my emails are saying they've already planned within their budgets this year, pensioners, on receiving this winter fuel payment, because Labour before had said that they weren't going to do this, and that's causing a lot of problems. What I would suggest is do something like North Devon Council are, and they've analysed that there's at least 280 pensioners who are really on the ultra low income bracket, and said to them, look, this is what you can, this is what you need to do to apply for the support fund monies, and asking them to claim for pension credit. So they've identified that there's at least 280 that they can identify that are allowed pension credit, and trying to encourage them to claim it. But the big issue here is that the money can come from taxing the top 1% of the country, their income, to pay for this. So if you're wondering where the payment can come from, we're saying as alternative parties to government that, hang on, look at where you're getting the money from. So you can actually afford this by doing this. And that hopefully will answer Councillor Atkinson's query about where the money's coming from. Not everyone's lucky to have money coming in. Not very, there's lots of residents living in poverty now. And I, for one, will be trying to bob up and down to get a question in when we debate this in Parliament, because I think it's not very nice for pensioners to choose between food and eating their own homes, because that's what it will be. And I know someone who's doing that now, and at this time of year. So it's real. If you think about the Labour Party roots, come on. You're supposed to be there for the working class people. You're supposed to be there for people who are struggling. So I concur with Councillor Connett in saying, just think of your morals and your conscience when you do vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Trail.
Thank you, Chairman. Basically, a pensioner who was born before 1950, they get £169.50 per week. A pensioner after that age, so from 1951, they get £206.80 per week. So the older element of our residents over 74 plus, they're being disadvantaged at the moment by £2,481.60 each. On top of that, 10% increase in fuel costs. On top of that, they're going to lose that £100. In some cases, it's £300. So, as well as cutting down the fuel, I think you also should be looking at sorting out and making sure that all pensioners are paid exactly the same, no matter what age. So therefore, I will support that we write that letter, please.
Thank you. Councillor McGuff.
Thank you very much, Chair. I'd just like to touch on a point. Money, okay? We tax the British public, left, right and centre. So the Labour's doing exactly the same now. We can find billions and billions of pounds to give to Europe. That's British taxpayers' money. Why can't we get our own house in order first? Look after British citizens first. I don't care what colour or creed you are. You're a British citizen. You should be entitled to this money. Why can we find the money to give abroad and we can't find money to get your own house in order first? It's absolutely disgusting. But with Labour, they find the money for the trade unions, didn't they? Let's pay them first. Let's prioritise first. Pay them and neglect the elderly within our community. These are people that actually built this country prior to us taking over. And I don't think we're doing a good job, any of us, not in this room, in Parliament at the moment, of standing up for the British public. And I hope the two newly elected members will stand by their convictions and try their best to get this overturned. You know, this winter fuel payment is absolutely paramount within Devon. To lose it, we give loads of money away, billions away abroad. Stop it. Look after your own British citizens first. That's where the money comes from. That's where the money should be spent. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll go for Councillor Wrigley next.
Thank you, Chair. It's interesting. So it's lovely to see the dynamics of the politics change in this chamber, which is kind of interesting. All of the Liberal Democrats in Parliament signed an early day motion, a prayer motion, against the cancellation of the winter fuel allowance. So that is on record. We will be arguing this in Parliament, and we will be talking about the lack of imposing windfall taxes, because as the energy price goes up by 10%, what happens? The profits of the energy companies go up. The cost of digging oil out of the North Sea oil, the cost of generating solar power does not change, but the price they sell it does. So that means there is extra windfall profits going to the energy companies, and that has from day one been what the Liberal Democrats in Parliament have suggested is done, rather than stopping the winter fuel allowance. So the level, quite rightly, as Councillor Connaught has put in his motion, is too low on stopping this. And so I will be voting for this motion. Thank you.
Councillor Randall Johnson. Then I'll take Councillor Cox.
Thank you, Chairman. I want to take a slightly different approach, and that is regarding the universal, the principle of having universal offering, because I think it's vitally important that irrespective of your finances, that everyone receives this. If you feel you don't wish to have it, you can return it or give it to charity or do something else with it, which I have done myself. What worries me is breaking the principle of having a universal offering. Is this the beginning of other things which are going to go? The concessionary bus pass, ladies and gentlemen. Is it going to be the health visitors? That is a universal offering to every new parent. Is that going to go? Is that going to be means tested? And God forbid, is the NHS itself going to be a means tested that you can only get it if you're on the benefit at the bottom of the pile? I find it gross hypocrisy coming from the Labour government, which is supposed to be socialist, to impose this on the most vulnerable people in our community. Those that have worked hard to build the economy, to build this country back up again after the Second World War, being hit the hardest. We know perfectly well that a lot of people die because of cold, not because of heat. They die from cold. And the implications on our health service here in Devon are pressure on our hospitals, the pressure on our home domestic help is going to be immense this winter. And I find it mean and very Scrooge-like when we've had a Prime Minister say that back in May, the current Prime Minister that is, as opposed to Sunak, that he knew that there was a 40 billion black hole. He now comes in and says it's a 20 billion one and talks down the economy, but wants growth. I am so worried about our future. If we want growth, we need to reduce taxation. We really need to bring in lower costs on our energy so that people can actually afford to run their heating in their homes and run their businesses so that the country survives. So I am just really worried that this universal offering is going to be, the breaking of this principle is going to lead to huge other things changing. If this had been done by a Conservative government, all hell would have been broken loose across the country, but Labour seemed to be able to get away with it. My socialist colleagues in this room, come on, stand up and fight for this one.
Thank you. Councillor Cox, Councillor Price, Councillor Biederman. We're getting through you now. Councillor Cox.
The question was asked, does anyone in this chamber, or members, qualify for pension credit? And they don't, because they get an allowance of, or they're entitled to an allowance of 14,000. 13,000 is a cut-off point for pension credit. It's really low. It's lower than, in fact, somebody who is working full-time on minimum wage. So it really, and that is the problem. I know there are wealthy pensioners who gain from this. Basically, I'm a chairman of a food bank, and we basically run our Christmas hampers from people giving their winter fuel allowance to us, donating that. Now, those are very wealthy pensioners, and they can afford to give that. But there's a whole group of pensioners, who don't claim pension credit because they don't understand it or don't want to know, and that's a job for the Devon County Council. We deal with people, we could help them claim this item, and but there's a load of people who are, there's a lot of pensioners who are just above the threshold who will miss this money, and they will have to choose between eating and heating. This is a very, very cold and blunt way of doing this. And I understand the government inherited a difficult time, but it's not the answer to hit pensioners like they have done. So I would support this motion, and I hope the members will support this motion.
Thank you. Councillor Price, then Biederman, Bailey, and McInnes. Oh, I've got another one there, sorry. Okay, Councillor Price first.
Thank you, Chairman. So I checked all the manifestos of all the main parties before the election to see what they were promising us, and then I read them again to see between the lines what we were going to hit with whoever got elected. Well, I now know. I asked my research team to check who introduced the winter fuel allowance, and apparently it was Mr. Blair. With the approval of the Chancellor Gordon Brown. I like Gordon Brown because one, he introduced that, and the second thing is he stopped us joining the euro currency. Right. So throughout Blair's term, it was kept going, and I think it was about 2010, they said goodbye, and on the Treasury desk, left by the Treasury Minister, not to be named, was a very great note that says there's no money left. So the coalition government came in, read that note. The first thing they did not do was cut the winter fuel allowance. In fact, they kept it going. And the Tories have just gone, they kept it going. So I'm rather shocked that this is a decision they've taken. Now, on my patch, since 2009, I've known an old man called Mr. Hill. His real name, because I told him I was going to use it. He's a widower, lives on his own. He's 90 at Christmas. And last week, he berated me about this. I said, well, you know how it's happened. But then he went on to the fact that the energy cap was coming off, and he'd already worked it out on what little money he was going to have. Unfortunately, he's a few quid below the threshold where he can apply for pension credit. He was beside himself. The house he lives in, the only heating he's got is a beat-up old range run on ready oil. Well, you know the price of that. And he was telling me how he was not going to think he would survive. When you sit, you can read this in the papers, by the way, happened in the country. But when you sit there and listen to somebody who has paid into the system their entire life, he is not happy. But look, I got some news for him. don't be so unhappy, because apparently on the very late BBC News last night, it said, don't be surprised, because 10 years ago, whoever was the shadow Chancellor for Labour said it was their aim to kick it to touch. So now it's happened. So you know what the way this is going. I'm looking across the room. In fact, I can see virtually everybody waiting for the last speaker to put their hand up to support the motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Biederman.
Thank you, Chair. What a funny summer we've had, haven't we? Funny weather. We've got Starlings in Swift boxes, and I'm not quite sure which side the Labour Party and the Conservative Party are on now either. So it is quite interesting. I mean, Sarah, you talk about hypocrisy, and you're quite right. But then again, we've seen the Conservatives want to disadvantage children over the last 14 years. And now we've got Carol suggesting that it's them or the elderly people. At the end of the day, I think as a society, we should be supporting all our vulnerable people, whatever their age. And clearly, you know, I think I speak for all our group. We thoroughly support Alan's Connett's motion here. I'll be proud to sign the letter as a group leader, actually, and put the people of Devon first. And I've said it many, many times when it was the other way around. It is about, for me, always supporting the most vulnerable and protecting them. And Carol, where I will agree with Carol, you know, we have got a mess, haven't we? And we can take the politics out of it. Some of it is completely not the Conservative government's fault. We didn't know the war in Ukraine was going to happen. We didn't know about the pandemic. We did know about Brexit. Unfortunately, it sounds like Dermot's headed over to reform. But, you know, the reality is a lot of things have hit this country over the last 14, 15 years. A lot of things.
Point of order, Chairman. No, I won't accept that. I like Councillor Biederman, but I'd like him to retract those comments. Heading over to reform. Putting the British public first. I don't think so.
I'm sorry.
I told you to send me through. I'm not accepting it. That's actually a load of codswallop.
Mr. McGuff, that is not a point of order.
McGuff as well, not McGuff. Get it
Here.
straight, sir.
Please keep quiet. Let's finish. Okay.
I did say sounded like I was referring to the summer, but I think it is a knee-jerk reaction by the Labour Party at the end of the day, and I think this does need a lot more careful thought, because we could be really we are going to be making some people really suffer. And I think Councillor Room referred to North Devon Council and how they're trying to reach out to the 280 people in North Devon and not yet claiming. And it'll be the same across the county, wouldn't it? Let's give people a chance that really need that help to get in those claims to make sure they're receiving the support they're getting. So I think really what this is about, we all know that the state the country's in. We all know that there's going to have to be some give and take and some cuts. But let's make sure that we've not got elderly people sitting in their homes this winter, freezing to death, choosing between putting the heating on and eating like we had to with the children that we've also let down over the last 10 or 14 years. And I think really as councillors, we were put here, whatever colour of flag we wave, we were put here to stand up for people in our communities. And, you know, like you say, you've got political masters, some of you and some of you haven't. And I know for a fact that the Labour colleagues in front of me, if they vote against this motion, will probably regret it in the end, and it's blind loyalty. So I think, you know, let's put the residents first, support Councillor Connett and the Lib Dem motion here. I think it's a really good one, and it'll show the right message, and perhaps we can get the Swiss back in their boxes and the Starlings back in their boxes, and we can all live happily ever after. And I apologise, Dermot.
Thank you. Councillor Bailey.
Thank you very much. Thank you to Councillor Connett. I totally support the motion. I think for me, I mean, austerity has had a disastrous impact on our country. It's cost thousands of lives, and it's pretty devastating that under a Labour government, it's set to continue. I just think it's totally ill-judged, their proposal, and unfortunately it really will cost lives in Devon. So I really hope that the government rethinks its stance, because it's bad news.
Thank you. Now, Councillor Khan, and then I'll take Councillor McInnes, and then summed up by Councillor Connett. Is there anybody I've missed? I don't think so. Okay. Oh,
Chairman, can I raise a point? I'm not sure it's a point of order, but advice as someone in this chamber who would benefit if this was reinstated. Have we got a general dispensation from the monitoring officer?
Yes, you have a general dispensation.
Thank you.
Councillor Khan.
Thank you, Chair. Firstly, I'd like to thank Councillor Collett for his thorough research that's gone into this motion before and everything that he's outlined about the effects for pensioners in Devon. Secondly, Councillor Atkinson, how dare you make assumptions about people in this room that we're all some middle class upper echelon with we don't all have second homes, I'll have you know. Thank you. My father is a pensioner. He gets basic state pension. He's not entitled to pension credit because his partner is below pensionable age. She cannot work because she's a full-time unpaid carer for a disabled elderly relative. They are on the poverty line. My father is skip diving for wood to burn on their fire to keep them warm. So don't you dare make assumptions that just because somebody stands for a party that they have pennies to rub together. You make that assumption at your peril. I will fully be supporting Councillor Connett in this motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, Councillor Age, you've just put up. Now, you said a little bit, so let you speak. Now.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to point out that in the motion, the fourth bullet point, I completely agree with. I completely agree. We have got to, within Devon, make an effort that every single pensioner in this county, if they need that extra support, that they know they can get pension credits, and that we need to make sure that everybody is targeted with the information so that they can do that if they are not already getting those credits and they're able to. The system at the moment isn't working well enough. And what the Labour government is trying to do is to make sure that those people, whatever their age, by the time they have changed things around, we will make sure that the people suffering the most are being supported the most. The people that are the poorest will get the support that is needed. And that's the point I want to make. Thank you.
Thank you. Now I'm going to wind this up by asking Councillor McGuinness, who gave right to
Thank you.
comment, and then Councillor Connett.
Thank you, Chairman. And I totally disagree with the previous speaker. I think using a mallet and taking away the winter fuel allowance in the manner in which it was done shows that the government does have any understanding of what it is like to be a pensioner living across the country. I think it doesn't show it knows what it's like to actually live in a large rural county like Devon. Let's come back to basics. Devon has a very high older population. Devon has very old houses on the whole, old houses that are damp, old houses that need heating to make sure that they can live a long and healthy life in their retirement. A lot of people who have the basic pension, and I thought the point that was raised about the older pension that is quite a lot lower than the current pension was a really good point to raise. Those people on the lower pension with perhaps just a little bit of income from a private pension, barely over the line of pension credit, are really going to struggle. And the leader of the Labour Party said, what are we doing discussing this today? I think she said it's knee-jerk reaction. If we can't stand up today for something that the new government has done within days of it being elected to actually disenfranchise quite a considerable percentage of our population, what's the point in being here? I feel very strongly, and I'm so pleased that Alan was gracious enough to allow me to second this motion, because it's meant that I think there's going to be a massive majority for it, and we'll be able to write to government with some conviction. And so I'm not going to go on very much longer, except to say, members, we're here to serve residents of Devon, and I believe this resolution does serve the residents of Devon, and so I support it wholeheartedly, and I'm happy to second it. Thank you.
Councillor Connett, can you sum up your motion, please?
Thank you, Chairman. I'm just waiting for the clock to reset. Thank you, Chairman. Sometimes Labour colleagues like to talk to me about the coalition. It's about as relevant today as me reminding them of the winter of discontent. The winter of discontent, Chairman. We're just coming into one, aren't we? Where something like 10 million pensioners are going to be cold, and we know 180,000 of them will be cold in Devon because of Labour cutting the money. Labour say to me, where will you find the money, Councillor Connett? Now, let me walk you through this. What we know is 880,000 pensioners in Britain are entitled to pension credit but do not claim it. Do not claim it. That is a saving to the state. The Labour government, a Labour government will cut the winter fuel payment. And it says, you must claim the pension credit. Ooh, that's a bigger spend. And if you claim the pension credit, you can then have the winter fuel payment. That's even less of a saving. They're driving up costs, Chairman. Now, I don't want one single pensioner entitled to a pension credit not to have it. You've paid for it, you claim it, you have it, you stay warm. This motion does not ask the Labour government to go back to what was. It says you've made the threshold too low, that actually you are condemning pensioners to a freezing winter. You are condemning them to the choice you yourselves would have condemned a Conservative government on, to make that horrid choice about whether they turn up the heating or whether they buy food to eat. That is an immoral, outrageous thing to do. Britain's pensioners deserve better. They deserve better than a Labour government which should be standing up for them, condemning them to a winter of ice, cold and misery. I say to my Labour colleagues right now, you have nothing, I know, to do with Rachel Ree's announcement, or indeed Keir Starmer's intention to freeze people. Vote for the motion. Let's get people in Devon claiming their pension credit, claiming their winter fuel allowance, and calling on the Labour government to think again and set a higher threshold. It's the moral, decent thing to do. Thank you, Chairman.
Slightly worried, Councillor Connett, by your colleague. Did you get your blood pressure checked? Right, this has been moved and seconded. All those in favour, please show. Now, in fairness, Councillor Connett, you asked for a roll call. I'm happy with a roll call, but I think I need somebody to move it. Formally moved. You've seconded it. Everybody in favour, please show. Thank you. Roll call.
Okay, so could I ask you all to clearly state whether you, it's because I'm too tall, I think, so bit of a bendy motion. So if you can all say for me either agree, for, against, abstain. So Councillor Adams, Councillor Asvishin, Councillor Atkinson, Councillor Aves, Councillor Bailey, Councillor Biederman,
For.
Councillor Bradford, Councillor Brooke, Councillor Bullivant, Councillor Chesterton. Gone. I'll knock you off the list. Councillor Connett, Councillor Cox, Councillor Crabb, Councillor Crode, Councillor Davis, Councillor Gent, Councillor Gilbert, Councillor Hannaford.
For.
Councillor Hellier. For. Councillor Hodgson. For. Councillor Hughes. Councillor Ledbetter. Councillor Lever. Councillor Lech.
For.
Councillor Maskell. Councillor McGough. Councillor McGuinness. Councillor Morrish. Councillor Khan. For. Councillor Prowse. Councillor Radford. Councillor Randall Johnson. Councillor Room. Councillor Samuel.
She's gone.
Gone. Councillor Sanders.
For.
Councillor Saywell. Councillor Scott. Councillor Sellis. Councillor Slade. Councillor Thomas.
For.
Thank you. Councillor Trail. Councillor Twiz. Councillor Whitton. Councillor Wilton Love. Councillor Wrigley.
For.
Councillor Yabsley. And I don't think I've missed anybody.
I don't have a
No?
vote.
Good, clearly carried. Thank you.
Can I have the score, please? Technicality, chairman doesn't get a vote in this. That's why my name wasn't called. Can I say, while they're doing it, I thank you all for the debate. It's been a very good debate in this chamber. And I will say no more in my position as chairman, but we'll get the score. 43 for, 1 against. Thank you. So the motion is passed. Well done. The next new motion in front of us is one about divesting our investment into the pension, in our pension scheme. Can I have some guidance from this council as to whether or not you want this debated now? Right, Jackie Hodgson, Councillor Hodgson.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I would like it debated now. I think it's fairly straightforward. We've heard a lot from speakers today, and I will keep my speech short so that we can actually get through it quickly. But it is an emergency, and I would ask the council to support it on the basis that, you know, we know every single day people are dying, and we could make a difference to bring that ceasefire earlier.
Do I have a seconder for that?
Yes, Chair.
Thank you. Do I have a counter? Councillor McGuinness? Straightforward vote. I'm sorry, it's a straightforward vote. I tell you, I'm not with it today. Those in favour for it debated now, please show. Those against it being debated now and deferred to Cabinet? This one goes to the Pension and Investments Committee. Right, fine.
Chairman, point of order, if you allow me to speak.
No.
My belief is
No.
that it will not go to the pensions meeting because that committee is already, that agenda has already been circulated.
There we are.
Well, that's different.
Right,
That's
okay.
different.
Done? Okay. Do I need that confirmed or is that enough?
No, now Councillor Hodgson, the vote has been lost, so Councillor Hodgson
Right.
now formally moves.
No, formally moves it to go to Cabinet, please. Yeah.
Can I move that it goes to Cabinet, please? Because otherwise December is 3 months down the line.
It cannot. Technicalities.
Unfortunately not, because it's not a function of the Cabinet. It'll still come back to council at the same time. It won't make any difference to that.
Sure.
I just wonder how many deaths have been in the last 3 months that we might see in the next 3 months.
Can you move that it go to Cabinet, please?
I so move.
Sorry, to the pension fund. Okay. You have moved. Everybody understands what we're doing. Everybody in favour, please show. Thank you. Right. The next item on the agenda is the Young Carers Covenant. And this is Councillor Lech. You got time to speak quickly, or are you happy to go to Cabinet straight away?
I am happy for it to go for Cabinet, but I would like to say a few words, Chair, if you wouldn't mind. It's a very important thing to me. In fact, it started way back with Percy and I meeting 7 or 8 young carers in Tiverton, and we were very moved by the stories we heard. Not just the care they gave, but the impact it had on their lives. The next time I came across was with Prue, actually, sorry, Councillor, when we were part of a national webinar with 192 people taking part, and we were the only two from Devon, I hasten to add, and we flew the flag gallantly. But this started the spark, because the president, the young president of the Young Carers, is actually a young girl called Freya Gray, and she lives in Mid Devon. It was a very moving thing. And then the final one was with, I think, one was with the Children's Scrutiny Committee. We met 2 or 3 with Councillor Sanders and I, and 1 or 2 others. We met a little group in the Iron Bridge, and they were very moving because it's not, as I said, not just what they do for other people. One girl who would have taken her A-levels this May or June was debating what should she do. She looks after her mum. The course she wanted to follow was not given at Exeter University or anything close. The nearest would be Southampton. So she couldn't commute to get back to her mum each day or leave in the morning to get to university. So what I'm asking is, I understand it goes to Cabinet and there'll be a good report, but I do urge you, members, you can do something before that. You can actually look at the Young Carers Trust. You can look at the Covenant 10 major aims that will help them to have a better life. You could do something quite simple, like going to your local school, ask the head of pastoral care, do you have a teacher who actually has responsibility for your young carers? Because these are the kids who sometimes can't get their homework done because they've got to do extra duties. They need an ambassador. They need a counsellor who can plead on their behalf to the teacher who's ranting and raving because they haven't handed their homework in. So it's in 2 parts. I understand that there is a lot of work being done already by the officers, and I'm so pleased that they have contacted me. And I look forward to the day when the leader or the chairman is able to sign the covenant on behalf of the council. But again, I urge all councillors, do look as soon as possible. And please, I've signed it, and I hope all of you will. Thank you, Chair.
On that basis, you're happy to please move it to Cabinet?
Chairman, I'm happy to move it to Cabinet.
Thank you. Can I have a seconder? Councillor Lever?
Thank you, Chair. Happy to second.
Everybody in favour, please show. Thank you very much. Now we come to the winning a better devolution deal for Devon. I'll ask Councillor Lever if she's happy to move it to Cabinet, but she can say a few words first.
Okay. Thank you, Chair. I prefer it if we debated this today. I mean, I do appreciate the late hour and how much time everybody's given today. However, the reason for urgency, I believe, in this is that in the King's speech, it was mentioned that the government is going to be taking forward the English devolution bill, and informally we hear that that's likely to take place in the autumn of this year. So it just feels sort of reasonably sensible for us to talk about a way or to debate how we might make the devolution deal that Devon enters into the best it can possibly be for the people of Devon.
So you wish it to be debated today. All those in favour for it debated?
I second it, Chair.
All those that want it debated now, put their hands up. All those that don't want it debated now, please put your hands up. Thank you. I'm sorry, but you've lost it. Can you formally move it to Cabinet?
Yes. Thank you. I'm not overly surprised at that. I mean, I think it is worth just saying that, you know, time is getting on, not only. Thank you. Time is getting on not only in the council, but also getting on in terms of the devolution deal. And we heard today that there have been some discussions between the leader and leaders of some neighbouring authorities. It is only today that we heard that. It is difficult to see how the current devolution
Can I
deal.
just say, please move it to Cabinet.
Okay,
You've
thank
had
you.
your chance to
I
speak.
move it to Cabinet, but just to say that we want the absolutely best for Devon, and that actually a really fantastic devolution deal is better than the one we've got already.
Well,
We think this is a dead
Thank you
duck.
very much.
Thank you.
Move to Cabinet. Everybody happy? Please show. Thank you very much indeed. I now close the meeting, I think, don't I? Thank you.